So I will call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:32 p.m. on March 12th, 2024. Current commissioners present: Kristen, Erica, Elizabeth, and Travis. Just a note that this meeting is being held virtually, and if any technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, everything will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. And as you may have heard, this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. And if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. Right. Hearing nothing, I will assume no one is. So first on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes, February 27th, 2024.
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
I wasn't sure if Kristen was done.
Oh, I was looking for the date,
Yeah,
but
I heard
there's the wrong ones in the project folder. And I had the wrong one pulled up.
Oh yeah, Mitch, you sent a link to a previous meeting instead of the current meeting.
Whoops.
That's okay.
I did read them though, and they seemed fine. So
okay, and just noting for this the minutes for this meeting that Emily just joined at 6:34, 2 minutes into the meeting. Okay, so we had a motion to approve that was seconded. Any other discussion on the minutes? I didn't see any issues or anything. No. All right. So we can do a roll call vote. I guess I just want to ask Emily. Just wanted to see if you were there. I believe you've sworn in, so you are now a voting member as well, right?
Correct.
Okay, and Elizabeth has sworn in, so we're up to 5. We're at full strength now, which is nice. Okay, so we'll vote on the motion to approve the minutes. Kristen?
aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Elizabeth?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
All right, and I'm an aye, so that motion passes and the minutes are approved. Okay, so on our agenda under scheduled public meetings and hearings, we have a public hearing, notice of intent bank stabilization at the Green River swimming area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 168356, continued from February 27th, 2024, and previous meetings. And I'll just read the quick description on our agenda here. The project proposes repairs to about 300 linear feet of bank along the Green River. The repairs include building out the top of the bank and repairing it to a 2-to-1 slope. It will be covered with biodegradable core erosion control fabric. The entire slope will be planted with native shrubs. Large rocks on the beach, which were part of the riverbank, are proposed to be incorporated back into the toe of slope to aid in stability. And who would like to be point person for this one?
Before we get into it, so I'm confused. So am I turning off my video and
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so Kristen's recused from this project. So yeah, I would turn your camera off and mute yourself.
Okay.
Until we get past this agenda item.
Okay.
Thanks. Thanks for the reminder. All right. Meredith, are you here to present this project?
Yeah, I'm here, and hopefully Mitch is here too to speak to the project. So I know it was filed a while ago, and you gave a great summary. I don't know if I need to go into the details, but the hearing was opened. It's a bank stabilization project at the Green River swimming hole area because of pretty significant erosion down there, and we want to protect the building and the beach. So We have been waiting, so it's rare species habitat. So we've been waiting for the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program to issue their letter. And they finally issued it. I don't know if the commission has seen that. I can share it. And
Yeah, that'd
basically,
be good if you could share
okay,
it.
yeah, let me, my screen, I can just go over what they said. And if you don't have a copy, I can email it to you. Okay, can you see?
Yes. I
Okay.
see list of conditions.
List of the kids, yeah. So
Yeah.
they just go through and they address the project. The species is wood turtle, a rare turtle that lives in the river. So basically the letter says that if you approve the project, you have to include these conditions with the order, and then it will not be a take. So I can run through the conditions
Sure.
if you want. And so I'll just summarize them. The first to avoid adverse impacts to and prevent a no take to the listed species, the project must stay in the limits of work, which that would be in the order anyways, but it would be good if you guys like cut and pasted these into your order eventually. And so the limits of work must be adhered to. Nothing would be allowed, no work would be allowed, excuse me, allowed outside of the limit of work. Excuse me. The plans of record, any changes, like if stuff comes up during construction, that would need to go back to the division if any changes, significant changes were to come up. And obviously we'd have to come back to you guys too. So that's what that condition means. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but use of native species, unless otherwise approved by the division, all seeding and planting that's not maintained as lawn shall be native to the county. I believe we put some native shrubs along the bank there, but some of it will be restored as lawn since it's a actively used recreation area. And then the fourth one is the turtle protection plan. And so as part of the turtle protection plan, so we have to, SWCA is going to write that up for the city and get it submitted to Natural Heritage. And it basically, we do these a lot. It will be something like the time of year will be, depending on the time of year, we'll have a approved biologist out on the site doing surveys before and after construction. So that's basically this condition, and I can read it if you guys want. But we do these a lot, and it just says like the plan has to be approved by the division, and an approved biologist has to be certified to do these turtle monitoring plans. Upland work between the 15th of October and April 15th may be able to proceed without the protection plan, but during the active turtle season, the protection plan would need to be in place. And then by the 31st of any year, the biologist would have to submit a summary report to Heritage detailing the project status and the compliance with the turtle protection plan and any observations of the state listed turtle. So we are in the process of putting together a turtle protection plan for the city to use with this project. And the last condition it says authorized duration, which they're authorizing this work as long as we give them the turtle protection plan and they approve it for 5 years. So we would also ask the commission to issue an order for 5 years as well, so that it's sort of like in conjunction with these conditions. So at this point, because we have a letter, you could issue an order as long as it has these conditions in there, and that's still, we still have to adhere to, or the city still has to adhere to getting the turtle protection plan approved by the Heritage before construction begin.
Great.
So that was good news. And I can, did you get this letter? Hopefully they sent it to you as well, but I can also email it to you.
I think we have that, don't we, Mitch?
Yeah, we have that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay. And then I was wondering, since it's been a long time since we've talked about this project, do you have like the plans in front of you to share, or we could share that if you don't have it readily available and just
Um,
kind of
you have it
look at
right
those
there.
again.
I have like a bunch of pictures pulled up. I was trying to find the final plan. Forgive me, I was
That's okay.
actually thrown into this last minute because the other guy's on vacation. And
Mm.
I can look up the plan unless you have it handy. Um,
Mitch,
uh,
do you think you could pull up the plan?
Yeah, I can pull it up.
if you have it right there, I can also pull it up. I know we also we did send a list of all the performance standards to you folks, and how we comply with them, how this project complies with them.
Mm.
I don't know if you
Yeah, I
want.
think we did look at that last meeting, but
I think that's new.
oh, that one's new. Okay, yeah, yeah.
We looked at these. Do you mean the
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should look at
Um,
since it's
it's
been a
been a while.
while.
I don't know.
Then we can
yeah, I
talk
was gonna say maybe look at
performance
this again.
too. Yeah, so you could see on the plan where, yeah, so there's an existing retaining wall and the river's really eroded the bank in front of that wall. So in order to protect that wall, we're proposing to add material, and increase the bank there.
Mm.
It's hard to see, but I believe they're going to be using core logs and probably gravel underneath and then vegetating the slope. What do they have on the bottom? Yeah, so
Formatting.
the core matting would go on the slope, but they're going to have to add material. So they use these like coconut fiber logs. I don't know if you folks know what they look like, but they're just
Hmm.
big, really durable. They last for a long time, at the toe of the slope, and then you build the bank up behind those, and then with usually they could do like a gravel base and then vegetate it. So you put soil and then you put the matting down and seed that. So the slope becomes stable with vegetation. So the vegetation and the roots would hold down the soil as the core log decomposes it, as the fiber, the rolled matting, that will decompose too. And then what you're left with after, I don't know, 1 to 3 years is a vegetated bank. So
Yeah, I think at the bottom they were using, that's where they said they were going to use rocks from
okay,
the beach area. They were going to reuse those. That's what it
okay,
says here. Incorporate a
great
row
rocks.
of 18-inch diameter rock at the toe.
Okay, yeah, they may have to do that because it's a pretty active river, and um the coconut fiber logs kind of do better if it's not so dynamic, if the system's not so dynamic.
Mm,
So rock would probably be good, but they are proposing to just vegetate the slope above, which is nice. Like it's not going to be a riprap bank. So it'll be stone at
mm.
the bottom. Sorry, I misspoke about that. And then soil and vegetated slope above, and they should be using native vegetation.
Yeah, it says the plant list. Oh, plant list. Plant list says see refer to plant schedule.
Okay, maybe that's on the next.
Oh, it's right above. I think it was right above where the number 4 is. I think it's right
Oh, yeah,
above that.
okay.
Silky dogwood. Could you zoom in a little bit more, Mitch?
Looks like a couple dogwoods.
Mountain holly, pussy willow.
Okay, and then it has notes on where they'll go. So looks like they're going to be putting shrubs on the slope. Throughout the whole slope, lower,
Mhm.
toe, and mid, which is good because shrubs will have a deeper, deep rooting system. But the grasses that the seeding, that should have sort of a deep rooting system as well.
Mitch, can you scroll down to the next page just so we can look at again like where this is in relation to the where it shows the cross section up there. So it's in that red box area, I guess.
Yes. Yep, that's where the wall is, and then it's north of the playground area.
Hmm. Are there any other questions from the commission while we're looking at this document? And then we can move on to the document where they explain how they're meeting performance standards. Okay, not seeing any more. And then there will be a public comment period later, just so everyone knows. Mm,
Oh yeah, I have that pulled up too. Yeah, so the general provisions is the first section that we were speaking to. And that goes through the resources that are applicable. So there's bank, land underwater, and the riverfront area.
mm,
And so we have sections for each of the resource areas, since each resource area has a list of performance standards. So we speak to each resource area and their applicable performance standards.
mm.
See, so yeah, some of the general provisions aren't applicable, but we put them in there anyways. So as far as bank goes, so the main one is that you can't impair the water carrying capacity of the existing channel, or you can't impair the physical stability of the bank. Those are the first two performance standards. And so the work has been designed to actually stabilize the bank. We probably could have filed it as an ecological restoration project, but the impacts are so small that they could be permittable under a regular order of conditions. So the bank, this is going to increase the stability of the bank rather than impair it. The water carrying capacity of the bank will not be changed by this project. We will not be impacting the groundwater or the surface water quality. And during construction, erosion and sedimentation controls will be used to maintain the site, so we don't impair surface water quality. And the bank, the next standard is the bank cannot work on the bank, cannot impair the capacity of the bank to provide habitat for fisheries. And since there's really no vegetation there now, like I don't think fisheries, there's really it's not really providing any habitat for fisheries as it is. So, and the fish will continue to be able to utilize the existing channel during the project, like they are now. So the given that the bank does provide as the standards are written, the bank does provide important wildlife habitat functions. And because we're going to be altering 300 linear feet of bank, a wildlife habitat evaluation form should have been completed. I don't know if that, I think that was done too, actually. Did you guys receive a copy of that? I think I saw that in our file.
Yeah, I can double check.
Okay, I can look too. But if I had to guess, I mean, that area, I was actually out there, and it's basically void of vegetation now and soil. So if anything, it's not really providing wildlife habitat as it is. This project, I would hope, would improve the wildlife habitat value of the site. So let's see. The next three aren't applicable. Those have to do with construction and reconstruction of structures along a channel. So we're not dealing with structures, luckily. And then the last condition for bank is that if it's mapped in rare species habitat, you have to follow the procedures, which basically say you have to file with natural heritage, which we've done. And I've gotten their feedback. So any questions about bank before I move on to land underwater?
Questions from the commissioners? Yeah, go
Just
ahead,
to-
Emily.
I think I understand how it works, but I want to make sure. So there's um, the coconut butt material logs at the base, and then there's fill, the angle, and a core material is over the top so that fill doesn't, that soil doesn't move. And so it really sounds like there's no disturbance of the existing bank. Is that true? Or are there like stakes or anything put in?
Well, I misspoke. There's actually going to be stone rather than the coconut fiber logs at the toe.
Oh, okay.
And then
So,
basically
like riprap stone or large stone?
just large stone that's already on the site. So not riprap, but like existing natural stone that's there already. I believe that's what's proposed. And then just at the toe, to stabilize the toe, like what is in contact with the river the most. And then above that will be natural vegetation and the fiber matting that gets placed while the site is getting stabilized. So that prevents erosion and sedimentation while the vegetation that we're planting takes. And so the bank will be impacted, but it will be.
So there's additional soil put in that's stabilized.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so there will be, the existing bank is it's barely there. I don't know if you guys had a chance to do a site visit, but there's not much bank left. So this project is really going to be enhancing the bank that's there.
Yeah, we can look at some pictures again after this to
I just wanted to clarify that there wasn't
Yeah.
any disturbance of the existing soil. It's really just adding on with these various materials and structures to keep it in place.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
That's, yep.
Thanks.
Okay. So land underwater, that's the resource area that starts below the bank, it starts at the mean annual low water and goes out into the river. I wouldn't expect too much to be impacted with this project because we're really working backwards up the bank. But let's see. Oh, and these performance standards are similar to the bank performance standards. It talks about impairing the water carrying capacity of the channel. You can't impair the groundwater or the surface water quality. You can't impair the resource area to provide breeding habitat or escape cover for fisheries. Again, none of the water carrying capacity will not be impacted by this project. We're going to be installing erosion and sediment controls to prevent any impairment to water quality. The breeding habitat for fisheries, they'll still be able to use the river when this project is going on. So we will not be impacting fisheries habitat. So with this this resource area, there's a 5,000 square foot limit to impacts, or 10%, whichever is less. And so, there's a threshold for requiring a wildlife habitat evaluation. So the project only proposes to impact 1,800 square feet, which is below the 5,000 square foot threshold. So land underwater doesn't need to be assessed for wildlife habitat because it's below the threshold. No, there's no stream crossings. Boat channels aren't an issue at this site, or they're not being proposed. And then again, you have to file with natural heritage when you're working in land underwater, so which we've done. So we meet the performance standards for land underwater. And then the last resource area is the riverfront area. And let's see. The first one's not applicable. This also talks about meeting any adverse effects on rare species would need to be filed with natural heritage, which we've done, and we have a letter from them. And then it talks about alternative analysis. So I guess the two alternatives were considered. It's like either not doing the action, not doing the work, or the preferred action, which is the plan we've provided. So I guess no action means that the riverbank would continue to degrade and erode and would continue to erode into the river, eventually, taking out the retaining wall that's there. Yeah, there's not really other alternatives. It's either don't do anything or fix it, because it's not like we have an alternate site. These performance standards kind of would be more applicable if like on a development site where you're like putting a bunch of houses. Whereas you could move those houses somewhere else. You can't really move this bank project because that's where the erosion is happening. So overall, so the project is meeting the performance standards.
Are there any questions from the commissioners?
Do we know did Mark see this? Did we get any comments from him, or I can't remember.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he did way back when, and
Yep.
it was so long.
Yeah, we did, and we went through those last time, but we could check those out again. Mitch, do you want to bring those up? And one of the comments was about submitting that narrative that we just looked at. So yeah, so the first one, commission shall wait to close the public hearing until NAGSP has issued its determination, which is what we just saw at the beginning of the meeting. Commission needs to make sure there's no project work area conflict between any new order and the existing order for annual maintenance. And we talked about that and decided that it didn't. That's what we said last time. Number 3, the commission should review the updated NOI page 2. The work was submitted as a limited project, therefore full compliance with the performance standards is required. A narrative should always be included with any NOI where there are proposed resource area alterations, stating how the work complies with the relevant performance standards. And that's what we just looked at. Number 4, the commission and applicants need to note that any resource area boundaries approved under existing order are still binding on this new NOI. However, it appears that the precise boundary of top of bank or the lower bank were not clearly shown. For this comment and for comment number 2 above, the commission needs to review those plans for the existing order and carefully review that narrative and conditions listed in that order. And then just a general note, number 5, a great deal of information is included in the notes on the plans, which the commission should carefully review. So yeah. Mitch, could you also bring up like the site photos? I think there's a PDF there, or the site visit, either way. Yeah.
Yeah, this is from November, but Alan said hasn't changed too much, luckily.
Yeah. And can you go back to that last folder? There's a PDF there, sitephotos.pdf. The 4th PDF over. Yeah, I guess that's about the same. I think that top left one kind of shows the, the eroded bank there. It's a little blurry, but
It shows that when the water's a little bit lower, so you can actually see the erosion.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much left there in front of the wall. Yeah, it's much easier to see when the water's lower. Let's see if I had any photos.
While you're looking for those photos, I just wanted to state for the record, I know Elizabeth reviewed the materials. Elizabeth and Emily were not commissioners when this hearing began for the first part. So I know Elizabeth reviewed that first hearing and filled out the form to comply with the Mullins rule. Emily, I'm not sure if you did that as well. Does that sound familiar?
No, I wasn't aware of
Okay.
this, so
Okay.
I would need to.
Okay, good to know.
I just have one photo I'll show.
Okay.
That's okay. So this is standing in the river. This was in October 2022, looking up at the wall. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like now after the rain last week and snow melt. I think that's, oh, here's another one.
Yeah.
I can show.
That was a good photo to show.
Yeah, I can send that to the commission. I have a couple more like that. Yeah, so it's getting, the wall is actually showing that.
So are there other questions from the commissioners at this time, or should we go to public comments? If no one has any questions or concerns at the moment.
I guess I have a question or two.
Sure, go for it.
When is it likely that the work will get done? And just you had mentioned that there are stones that are coming from on site somewhere. I'm curious where those will come from.
I'm not actually sure of the city's plans. I don't know if Mitch wants to chime in on that. This has been in the works for a while, so I don't know, it might be something that is funding related. I'm not really sure. But we could definitely find out and
Mitch,
get back to
Mitch, did you hear anything from Alan about when they might get
No, I don't
started?
think Alan said it. I know he said it wasn't gonna take a while once I did start.
So I seem to remember from the recording of the meeting that originally where Mickey presented this project originally, that they were saying that the materials that they were going to use that were on site had actually come from, in part, the eroded bank itself. So they're kind of basically like, my understanding of this was, and please, Meredith, if I'm misspeaking, correct me, but my understanding was that they were basically going to take an awful lot of the material that had originally been there and put that back in place, and then fill in what obviously has gone downriver with those the core materials and other fill. And I seem to remember, Meredith, you mentioned earlier that the depending upon the timing of the season of the work itself, a biologist would be required to be on hand. Is that correct? So that, you know, within the framework of the 5 years, whenever that does happen to get underway, if it's during a time of the year where the endangered turtle is active or its life cycle is relevant to the work, someone would be on hand to take care of that and be sure that that is being observed and protected.
Right, yeah, so when we write the turtle protection plan, which the commission will get a copy of and Heritage has to approve, but we kind of write it as though, like, if work's happening during the turtle active season, yes, a biologist is on hand, they go out, they do surveys, they probably wouldn't be there all day, they kind of go assess the bank, see if there's any turtles there, look around the site, and that's before a contractor is like down there working. And then they probably come out every morning, like during the work, and just do a survey to make sure there's no turtles in the work area. And if they are, they'll document them and remove them and put them in a better place up or downstream. So yeah, the work can happen at any time. I mean, I'd recommend it happening in the dry if we have that opportunity. I mean, last year we didn't have that opportunity. The year before we had a lot of opportunities. Yeah. So it's just really going to depend on the year. But because it's in the river.
That's what I was thinking, is that we are having so many flood incidents that trying to reduce the likelihood of all the good work you do just getting washed away in a short amount of time would probably be wise. And there is a 5-year window for the Natural Heritage Review. So maybe picking and choosing years and seasons appropriately would help.
I know.
Of course, we don't want to wait.
Yeah, I know. It's so hard to know what it's going to be like. Yeah, if we're in now, 2022 was the drought year.
Right, 2 summers ago.
2 summers ago, but last year we had incredible rains.
I know, and this year has been the same. Yeah, you can't predict it.
Right. So I just share this picture. Like if the river's like this, late fall, it would be a great time to do the work. or actually or in the summer, because then it would have some time to revegetate. But the commission can condition the project to say it has to be done during a dry spell. Obviously, there's going to be extenuating circumstances. That's the only thing.
Erica, you had something?
Well, I was just gonna say I mean, I know it's not really anything to do with us, but I mean, if they try to do it during the summer, is the swimming pool gonna be open? Is gonna be people running around, kids? I mean, it's basically right in front of, almost right in front of that whole swim area, and then in front of the playground. So seems like it might be hard to keep it protected and keep people protected. But
yeah, I guess they
I
probably
think
have
I guess
to.
that's a problem for Alan, you know. And
Yeah, I would say they probably have to close the swimming area while they're doing it and not flood the, not have it a swimming area, like let the river flow through so it's not flooded. Yeah.
So maybe they're hopefully maybe going to do it in the fall when kids are back at school.
Okay, good. Good
when,
comments.
how long will it take you guys to come up with your plan?
The
The
turtle
what turtle
protection
plan?
Yeah,
plan.
because it can't be started until that's ready, right? Or
Yes, the Natural Heritage has to approve the turtle protection plan. And then work can start. I think that's what the condition. Let me just double check.
I actually thought that's
it
what they
said.
were doing all this time, in between there. But
Yeah, I think I was under the impression that we were waiting for them to approve the turtle protection plan,
right.
but we may have.
Oh.
We
I
may have
thought you guys
not been
were the
informed.
letter, and now. Yeah, we are working on the turtle protection plan and should be submitted. Within a few weeks, I would think.
So this is not going to happen, obviously, before the April 15th cutoff there or whatever. So
Right.
The out of turtle season.
Oh, so I just want to clarify. So it looks like originally there was a letter received back, but it was asking for more information for them to review the project. So then more information had to be submitted to get this final letter with the conditions. So we were waiting on a second letter. The first letter was just saying they listed, please specify all these things and clarify so that we can review your project fully. Now that's what Natural Heritage said. So then they had to submit that information, and then we were waiting for like the official review with the conditions that we saw at the beginning there. Yeah. All right. Any other comments or questions before we go to public comments? All right, not seeing any. I will go ahead and open public comments at 7:16 p.m. If anyone wants to make a public comment on this, looks like Nancy's got her hand up. Go ahead and unmute and introduce yourself.
Nancy Hazard, 30 Spring Terrace, Greenfield. I just wanted to thank the city for taking this project on. I've been looking at that bank for a number of years and I've been concerned about it. And I'm thrilled that there will be native plantings there instead of riprap. And I wanted to thank all of you for being so careful in reviewing all the bits and pieces and all the details. So I'm really looking forward to this happening, and yeah, it's hard for me to imagine it won't happen until the swimming season is over and the boards are no longer in the whatever and making it deep. So, but thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment? All right, not seeing any. We'll close the public comment period at 7:17 p.m. for this notice of intent. So, at this time, if the commissioners feel like we have enough information, we could someone could motion to close the public hearing. And then at that point, we could either vote whether to approve or deny the project and issue an order of conditions, or technically we could wait until the next meeting to do that. So
Can we issue an order before the other part is, before the protection plan is ready? I mean, is that something, I mean, that's Natural Heritage is gonna review that, but do we have any say in that or no? That's just Natural Heritage.
I had the same question.
I think we
yeah,
can issue the order, they just can't begin work until it's done. And that'll be
Yeah,
in our
and-
conditions.
and I was gonna say, I remember another project that was it was a utility line project where they had to do a turtle protection plan. And one of our conditions was that they sent us the plan when they completed it. So we did issue an order of conditions before they had done the plan.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing about the Greenfield bank restoration.
Seconded.
All right, so we have a motion to close the public hearing. It was seconded. Any discussion on that before we vote on it? I don't think there is discussion on that motion. All right, so we'll vote on closing the public hearing. Erica,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye, so the public hearing is closed. So as I was saying, at this point, we could vote to approve or deny the project and issue an order of conditions if approved. Someone would like to do that or not.
I'll make a motion to approve the project for the bank restoration at Greenfield swimming pool.
Seconded.
Okay, motion to approve was seconded. I guess before we vote, just a question for Mitch, maybe. So as I mentioned before, Elizabeth filled out that form about the Mullins rule, and I'm wondering if I'm thinking maybe Emily might have to abstain from voting on this.
I think probably, yeah.
That makes sense, since I haven't seen all of the deliberation about it, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so we had
There's
a
still
motion.
3 people to vote, so that's sufficient.
Yep. Yeah, and according to our ordinance, it requires 3 votes to issue an order of conditions. So yeah.
Unless, like you said, you wanted to maybe wait until our next meeting. Maybe by then Emily would look through this stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. I think it's fine. Well, we'll vote and see if we
Okay.
So we had a motion, Erica had a motion, Elizabeth seconded, right? To approve the project. So we'll vote on that. Erica,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Aye.
Emily,
I'll abstain.
and I'm an aye, so it's approved. And Kristen is recused, obviously. So I guess that could have been a motion to approve and issue an order of conditions, but maybe just make a motion to issue an order of conditions, just to be clear. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for, let me get the exact issue an order of conditions for notice of intent DEP file number 168356, bank stabilization at the Green River swimming area.
Second.
All right, and discussion on that motion. So we have a motion that was seconded. It sounds like we at least need special conditions specifying that they must follow the conditions from natural heritage. Are there any other special conditions for this project that anyone feels are needed?
I think if they could submit their turtle protection plan before they start work to us, you know, so we can just.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Agreed.
And like I said, I think that's what we've done in the past. So
Mhm.
and it sounds like they were going to do that anyway, but it's good to have it in a condition. Submit turtle protection plan.
We're just saying we want a copy.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be a condition that when they submit it to Natural Heritage to send it to us as well. Or send us the approved,
Approved.
once Natural Heritage approves it.
Yeah.
Right.
That way we know it's the final version.
And Natural
And
Heritage
check-
did oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I was talking.
I think we were guessing the same question. I was asking if we had covered the conditions that were required by Natural Heritage to be included in the order.
Yeah, we could look at those
So those need to be
again.
added.
Can we just kind of cut and paste the whole thing or?
I think so.
Yeah,
Mitch,
I
do you
wouldn't
have
mind taking
the-
another look at it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out which document that was. I just had it.
Yeah, I think that was it.
All right, is everyone seeing that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was these 5. I'm just, scrolling down. So it was the nothing shall occur outside limits of work, has to be done according to the plan, use native species, submit a turtle protection plan, and valid for 5 years. Essentially, those are the 5. Which, I mean, those first 3 are basically part of like boilerplate conditions anyway.
Right. I just wanted to make sure it
Um,
actually specified county. It does. So
Oh yeah, it does.
it does.
Native to
It
the
does.
county.
So yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Another condition we might consider is that the work must be done definitely the time not of high flow,
Mhm.
and seasonal flow should be considered when the timing is being planned for the construction.
Mhm. Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I was trying to think of a way to word it in a way that's enforceable, you know?
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
point.
I wonder, just because the practicality of the actual work itself, they physically won't be able to do some of that work if the water is high. So I just wonder about the the practicality of specifically including in a order
mhm.
that the water must be low in order to accomplish the work.
Do you mean, is it necessary? Or should we
Well,
include it because it's logical?
Logic isn't always as broadly held as one might hope. I recognize that. But it just, I wonder, given that there's no alteration of the soil surface or vegetation within the limit of the work plan already, I just wonder if, saying that you can't move mud in the water is necessary, basically.
I mean, I assume it's probably in their best interest to do it in the driest time, because otherwise they're just gonna have to redo it again. If it just washes away, so.
I
Mitch, you
guess.
said,
Oh, go ahead. Ask your
I'm
question.
sorry, I was just saying, Mitch, you said he said it wasn't gonna take too long, but did he give you, does that mean like too long as in like 3 or 4 weeks or like 3 or 4 days or?
I think it's
He
just a
didn't
few
say.
days, is what he said.
Really?
I was checking the minutes from last time. I'll double check.
It's only a few days and that would be easy, kind of easy enough to look at the, weather forecasted weather and hopefully do it during a dry. So.
Another consideration with timing is the plantings. If they were, planted at a time where they have enough time to grow to, root in a little bit before the winter. I'm not sure how to, I'm not sure how to word that, like should be done. I don't know if you'd say like during the growing season or I'm not sure.
During
I also
critical,
found looking at the minutes and it says work would be done during low water flow.
Wasn't
That's
one of the
already,
things we are discussing last meeting about growing, and they were just talking about just putting down some the rye grass just for the winter area, and then they would for the winter time, and then they would replant when they had time.
Mhm.
see.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's an option. If they end up doing this in September, October, November, there's not really time to establish.
Well, another condition, another thought is whether we want to require a certain number of survival of the planted shrubs, and if less than 75% survive, then they would have to replant.
I think that's
That way,
reasonable, especially if this is going to be open for
Yeah.
5 years. I mean,
yep, agreed.
yeah.
Definitely.
I'm not sure what the number should be. I know when we've done, this isn't exactly like we had another project that was where they were like replanting a wetland that had been impacted,
yeah.
and I think we had a stricter, survivability percentage for that.
I think there was like 90% or something, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah.
Could we see the planting density plan again? That might be able to inform what level of survival rate we would like to have, given that the planting density and the spread of the species chosen would affect the practical percentage of survival that we would require before replanting.
And I guess that could also be a question, Meredith. I don't know if you happen to know how many plants are going in, or I'll try to look on the plan.
Yeah, that would be on the plan. We had it up earlier. Where did that go?
Yeah, I'm looking. I think it might be in like the notes somewhere.
Yes.
There's a lot of notes all around. So
Right.
there's a seed mix at the top.
Yeah, I think it was down further.
Yeah, this says, I just want to point this out because it has a seeding timeline,
Mid-October.
mid-October. but
Mhm.
I think this was
That's for grass
submitted.
as a cover crop though, yeah?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I think this was submitted like before October last year, maybe. Maybe they thought they were gonna be doing it in October too. So
Well, seeding grasses in the fall as a cover crop is a logical practice, at least as it relates to agricultural fields. And I can't imagine it's too much different in a bank situation. I was more concerned about the yeah, those
Yeah.
guys.
this has them, it has spacing, but it doesn't
Spacing, yeah.
exactly say how many. I guess you'd have to look at the whole area. 5 feet
Can you go
apart.
scroll on just
There's gonna be another chart with the amount.
You would think so.
Can we zoom out a little? Maybe it's usually, there's a plant list.
oh, there's the sort of that's a
Maybe it's on the next page. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hmm. I don't know. It says see plant list for all that. It might be in these notes. Mulch, live stakes.
right, live stakes have to be planted during the dormant period.
Hmm.
it says and seeding can't be accomplished, then they're gonna use the erosion control blankets.
Hmm.
If this is what we
Yeah.
have, I guess I'd like to see a little bit more of a specific
Planting
planting plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just this.
Well,
I mean, it kind of makes it
we've got the information. We just have to like crunch the numbers. You know, we know what
Mhm.
we know what the
There's the spacing.
yeah, the spacings exactly. So I guess, you know, when we're looking at it in terms of survival rate, I would, you know, I'm not super familiar with these particular species and their growth habit, but I would assume that they're not particularly vigorous spreaders. So we might want to consider a slightly more robust survival rate should we have plant death.
Mhm.
I mean, you could just say like 75 or 85% of the shrubs that are planted are that need to survive,
Mhm.
and then
they have to crunch the numbers and tell
yeah,
us
yeah, which
how
is
many
that's the way it's
planted.
supposed to. That's the way it's supposed to be, and I've never
Yeah.
seen a plan without numbers on it. I'm not sure what is going on with that. But you can also condition it and say we will need to know how many shrubs are going in.
Mhm. Mhm.
let's I'm not I mean I'm not like Elizabeth said or Emily, whoever, that I'm not too familiar with. Are these all shrubs or are they
Yeah, they're all
I
shrubs.
mean, there's no trees, there's no
No
Yeah.
trees proposed.
just all woody shrubs.
Yeah, there's like sort of low to medium
Mhm.
height shrubs, I would say. And some of these, like the you can get the willows in like live stakes, and some in the dogwood too. You can get live stakes, which means they're alive, but they're dormant when they're planted. I don't know, that might be a cost thing, is why they didn't put the numbers on there. I'm not entirely
Well,
sure.
Go
the
ahead,
inches
Amy.
for most of them, that the spacing is fairly close. For the dogwood, the holly, and the pussy willow, and then it's the one that's up on the bench, the Kelsey's dogwood, that has wider spacing, and it's a taller tree. So, or height, the height will be higher there. So
Yeah.
it does seem like they're fairly densely packed along the actual slope itself.
I actually couldn't tell if those other ones were like 5 feet, 18 inches,
That's what it
4 feet,
looked like
4 feet.
to me. Yeah, those are,
Oh, so I'm sorry. I've got it wrong. Those are feet and inches, of course. Yeah.
I mean, they had to
Apologize.
zoom in close in order to see that though.
Yeah.
It's a little blurry, but
So the dwarf dogwood is shorter and has a wider spacing. So that must be because it's on the level. And the others eventually will be, not big, but taller.
yeah.
And they'll be pretty tightly packed once they've grown.
Well, I think I'd be comfortable just saying, 85% survival. I know when we do like the wetland restoration, it's like after 2 years, after 2 growing seasons. So we could say 85% survival after 2 growing seasons.
That's
Everybody good with that? If I, are there any
great.
objections?
Seems reasonable.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we add
Should
in
we make-
anything about? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Erica.
I was gonna say, can we add in anything about them, since we have such a huge on the other end up there of the stream there with the invasives? Can we suggest that they need to be monitoring for invasives for the at least first couple of years or whatever, and removing them?
Yeah, we could. I mean, that also goes along with, they're bringing in fill that has to be clean fill, and if
Yeah.
there happened to be invasives in it.
Well, the clean fill they say in the plan there that can't have any invasive species or any other type of
Mhm.
weed seed in it.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah,
supposed to.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. It's not supposed
Yeah.
to.
In a perfect world.
Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's reasonable to, ask for monitoring and removal of invasive species during the duration of um the order of conditions.
I
I
think our
don't
boilerplate is just that invasives can't spread.
there can't be more invasives than there were previously,
Yeah,
essentially.
right. Can't
Which
get worse.
this area, I mean, it's gonna be like totally, like newly planted. Um, so I guess what I'm saying is I don't think there would be existing invasives in the project area. So it sounds like we don't need to add another condition for that because we already have a boilerplate condition. All right. I feel like I'm good with that. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else has any other specifics. All right. If there are no more comments or conditions people want, I'll just clarify we have, the conditions from natural heritage need to be followed, submit the final approved turtle protection plan to the Conservation Commission. I wrote down work done. I don't know what that, I think that's when we were discussing timing, but we didn't actually come up with a condition for that. Not that I recall. And then 85% survival after 2 growing seasons. So just those 3. Well, the natural heritage, submit turtle protection plan, 85% survival of the woody shrubs. All right. If there are no objections to that. The one other thing is they asked for this to be issued for 5 years.
Right.
I don't recall.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't recall doing that in the past, but I think there is. Mitch, are you aware of that?
Yeah, the NOI, the other NOI for this site is 5 years because that's
Okay.
it's annual.
Oh, it's the main ongoing
That was
maintenance.
the annual maintenance one. Yeah. Yeah,
So
I actually, yeah. So we did do that one 5 years. I think we did another, I remember another one that we did for 5 years as well. So I
I
think
think that's
that
just
is,
added as a condition
yeah,
if we're approving.
this will last for 5 years. Is everyone okay with it? For 5 years? Okay. All right. So if there are no objections to those and no other comments, we can vote on the motion to issue an order of conditions with the special conditions as discussed. Erica,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Aye.
Emily,
Abstain.
and I am an I. And Kristen is recused. So that motion passes 3-1, 1 abstention, 1 recused. All right, I guess I can stop sharing this. All right, thanks Meredith for filling in at the last minute and
Thanks
to
for
present
having me.
this.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time.
All right, and Mitch will be in touch with that paperwork.
Great. And who can I email the turtle protection plan to? And
Oh yeah, you can email that to Mitch. I don't know if you have his email address, but it's on the city website under
okay.
Conservation Commission.
Okay, I'll find that. Great. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Good night.
All right. Kristen, if you are around, you can come back now. Hopefully you're nearby. Okay. Welcome back. I have to say, it feels good to not have that notice of intent on our agenda anymore. That's been there for like, I don't even know, 6 months or something. I don't remember how long it's been on there. Okay. And we do have one other notice of intent tonight. So let's get to that. That is a public hearing notice of intent improvements at the Greenfield Water Pollution Control Facility at 384 Deerfield Street, maps 1415, lots 3A and 1, DEP file number 168360. And just to read the description on our agenda here, the project proposes to replace the aging infrastructure at the facility, to replace an existing covered tanker truck area with a new solids loading garage, to replace an existing external staircase, and to upgrade some existing pavement and curbing directly east of the facility. And do we have someone here for this project?
Hi, I'm Jeremy Degler. I'm the project environmental scientist. I work for Ty and Bond, and I'm representing the Department of Public Works. We also have Zach Weiland here with us today. He's the staff engineer for the project. So if anything engineering related comes up, he'll be able to answer the question.
All right. Do you have the plan handy and maybe you could share that and kind of talk us through it?
Yeah, absolutely. You see this?
Mhm.
All right, so this has been updated. We did receive a letter from Mass DEP with a couple of comments. The first one saying that, you know, we should be aware that under 310 CMR 1058-6H that the activities for this project are exempt from the riverfront standards. We still meet all riverfront standards. That's still in the NOI, but, you know, they did let us know that, you know, we are exempt. Number two, there are some issues with the site plans and the 1 foot contours, including FIS and firm data, and just kind of clearing out what vertical datum was being used. And also they asked for a table showing the cut and fill volumes for each 1 foot incremental elevation. So this new site plan that we have here has addressed this. We've put together a packet that we didn't get a chance to send out to Mass DEP and to you today, but all of those comments have been addressed, and we'll send that to you first thing in the morning. But this is the updated plan that addresses those concerns, and we do have a cut and fill volume table as well, if you have any questions regarding this. But you know, we have met that, and you know, like was mentioned, this is basically just demolishing a little bit of the existing pad trailer and piping outside of the facility, as well as taking down an existing staircase and replacing that with a new one. And then a new biosolids building expansion will be replacing the pad and trailer. You can also see the concrete and the curbing to be impacted right here, just kind of off to I think this is the east of the site. But yeah, down at the bottom, we'll have the erosion control barrier. You can see here that, you know, it's just going to be straw wattles staked in front of silt fence for this. And yeah, we're within, let's see. Yeah, actually, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer at this point.
Right. Yeah, and I guess if you could maybe talk about you or Zach talk about uh the table. If you do you have that table with like the cut and fill volumes and
Yes, we
because I
do. Can you see
yeah,
this?
uh
Or is this not sharing?
I'm not sure. I still see the plan.
All right. There. How about this?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I can zoom in here, but yes, this is yeah, actually if Zach, if you want to speak to this, I know this is more on your end.
Yeah, so based off the comment that we gotten from SDP, I had gone back to the reference table for the compensatory flood storage analysis, and so basically how did it is I went through each elevation grade through the project and calculated the incremental fill volume that we're adding in for frost walls and changing the slab grade, and then the incremental excavation for the volume for each of them. So because we are lowering the slab by an inch, that's that additional excavation that we're showing. And so I because those are the only so basically through that elevation gradient from the base of the project at 131 up to the 100-year flood elevation, because I'm not doing any other changes to fill or excavation, the rest of the elevations are all zero.
Right. And is there a plan with like a I don't know, like a cross section showing? It's kind of hard to like wrap your head
Yeah.
around.
Not in the site plans. I can try and I can try and find the full project plans and see if I can show a cross section of the building.
Yeah, just like how it's being, like what area is being excavated, what's being filled.
Yeah.
Because I know, I mean, with this being bordering land subject to flooding only, this is pretty much
Yeah.
the only performance standard we have to meet is to make sure that, or that you have to meet, is to make
Yeah.
sure that flood storage volume.
Yeah.
um,
Okay, I can get into my folder now. I'm just going into the project folder now. I should be able to grab it in the next minute or so.
Does anyone have any other questions while he's looking for that?
I just wanted to ask what the diameter of the straw wattle was that was gonna be installed with the silt fence.
Let's see. 9 inches.
Okay, I have the plans up. I'm gonna share my screen now.
Okay, great.
Share. Hopefully that's working for everyone.
Yep. I
So
can
yeah,
see it.
so this is the plan view for the garage. We have a couple side views. So this over here is the existing building, and this is the proposed. I'm gonna zoom in real quick. Sorry, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit more. Basically the elevation of the grade is that we're dropping the slab of the grade by an inch, and so that's our excavation volumes that we calculate based off of the cross the area of the building times that inch of drop. The portion that we are that is fill is that we have 6 inches of frost wall that the metal building is standing on, and so because that frost wall has a decent amount of thickness, that amount of volume from the frost wall is what's taking up the space for the fill. Did that
Yeah, I think that helps.
Okay,
Does
yeah,
anyone else have questions
maybe
on
find
that while we're here?
better?
And maybe we could look at maybe Mitch, do you have site visit photos from our site visit?
Okay.
Yeah, I can share those.
Once
This
we
is
finally
the
got in, we were locked out for a bit.
we
Made
got
it
in
in.
eventually. This is the building expansion area. The river just past us back there.
Back where all the invasives are.
Right. Um, this field back here is the laydown area.
That
Closer
laydown
up.
area is outside of the riverfront area.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's just flood zone. I think the whole area is flood zone.
Yep.
And then just another view. Erosion controls would be installed here. So
Mhm.
a small area.
Does anyone, I guess we saw the DEP comments there briefly.
Yes, I can pull those back up if you'd like.
Yeah, maybe just to double check those.
And you said that you were planning on submitting the revised plans and the written response tomorrow morning?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So here's the letter from Mark.
Mhm.
Yep, just these 3 items here. Just the exemption, and then the applicant's representative has failed to show compliance with compensatory storage requirements of 310 CMR 1057-4A1. The 1-foot contours need to be labeled on the plan, which has been added. The plan needs to show the floodplain elevation and that contour based on the flood insurance study profile data in conjunction with the flood insurance rate map. That's been done. The plan should also be clear on what vertical datum is being used. Please note that Franklin County flood elevations are based on NGVD 29, which I think luckily we had already used, so we didn't have to convert over there at all. And then the NOI narrative must also include the table showing cut and build volumes at each 1-foot incremental elevation, which is what we went over.
Mhm. Mhm. Thanks. I have to say, it seems to greatly simplify the project that it's exempt from riverfront standards.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's good news.
For permitting reasons at least.
I have a question though, if we haven't had sufficient time to really review the response to DEP comments, and if DEP hasn't had a chance to review the responses, can we close tonight?
I think that would be, I think we can. I think it would just be up to us to decide whether we feel like we have enough information at this time. And if we don't, then we could see if they could continue to our next meeting. Because I mean, if we felt like we needed to have, you know, the updated plans and all that materials in hand before we closed the hearing, we could see if they could continue to the next meeting and get all that information first. Or, you know, we could even, it could be, we've just seen the plan, so like we know it exists, the updated plan. So we could also condition, you know, the um that we get the updated plan that we saw during the meeting.
And I will say that the only changes to the plan are just like the labeling of the 1-foot contours. There have been no substantial changes to what was submitted along with the NOI. Yeah, it was just basically labeling and then adding 1 note about, you know, what that, you know, NGVD 29 had been used.
Mhm.
For the record, 10.57 for A1 states, and it's kind of lengthy, so I don't need to necessarily read the whole thing, but compensatory storage shall be provided for all flood storage volume that will be lost as a result of a proposed project within bordering land subject to flooding, or BLSF. When in the judgment of the issuing authority, said loss will cause an increase or will contribute incrementally to an increase in the horizontal extent and level of floodwaters during peak flows. Compensatory storage shall mean the volume not previously used for flood storage and shall be incrementally equal to the theoretical volume of floodwater at each elevation, up to and including the 100-year flood elevation, which would be displaced by the proposed project. Such compensatory volume shall have an unrestricted hydraulic connection to the same waterway or water body. Further, with respect to waterways, such compensatory volume shall be provided within the same reach of the river, stream, or creek. So I think we're looking at and, you know, engineers, correct me if I'm wrong, subterranean development?
So that is, when you place something within a floodplain, you take away area that flood water could take up. And for this project, that grading that we had been talking about is what compensates for adding in that frost floor. So just by lowering the grade around there adds more flood storage, and it is just adjacent to the river, so it's not within a different watershed or anything like that. And we did design it so there would be, no flow encumbrance. That just went through the garage, and yeah, we took all of that very much into account.
So just to clarify what you just said, you were saying that in the event of a flood, the garage would also fill with water.
Is that correct, Zach?
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we're not losing flood storage volume
No, I
from the
believe you're
building
actually
itself.
gaining slightly, which is actually a net positive for flood storage.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just to reiterate, we did discuss that in the field. That was one of my questions in the field on our site walk, and makes me happy.
Any other questions from the conservation commissioners, or any plans or anything you want to see again?
We talked in the when we had our site visit, we were talking. Zach was talking about a splash pad. Where, where's that actually?
Yeah,
Located?
so the splash pad is part of the if it Jeremy, if you zoom in into the right a little bit. Yeah. The splash pad is included as part of those like rocky textured areas that's going to be covered. So from the when the from the downspouts from the gutters is on those splash pads there. I think I'm gonna check on my drawings to see if I can find where it is specifically.
So it's not a, sorry, go ahead, Erica.
No, I just gonna say that. So they're pervious or
Sorry, can you say
impervious?
that again?
Are they pervious or impervious?
That I'm not sure.
I don't know. I guess I was picturing splash pad, something that would be able to filter the water down.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I was picturing like pea stone. I was picturing a drip line more than a velocity diffuser, so that's a really good question.
I'm looking through the details now to see if I can find where I remember seeing it. Mm. Architecture. Mhm. Yeah, I'm not seeing it where I had remembered them placing it. Why don't I see it? Mm.
Wouldn't be the landscaping stone around buildings, would it?
I didn't think so.
We could always put a pin in this and continue
Yeah.
as well if you want
Yeah.
to have more time to dig into it. Because I feel like I personally, I don't know about the rest of the commission, but I wouldn't mind having a little more time to dig into the response to the comments made by DEP. Because we're only seeing them for the first time right now.
Mhm. I guess one question I have for the applicant is if you know when the this project would be getting started.
Yes. That I can answer that. So the plan is to go to bid in the next month or two, with the latest for a notice to proceed for the award to bidder being August 1st. So the plan would be to have construction start by like end of summer, early fall.
Do any of the other commissioners feel like it would be good to have more time to review the new plans after they send them before we close this public hearing and maybe continue it to the next meeting? I know Kristen does.
Yeah. Are what Zach, what you're showing right now, that's not wasn't part of what we got, right? Ours was pretty plain. Can we maybe get some of these cross sections or?
The ones that I'm sharing right now, yeah, these should have been the 3 drawings that got sent to you.
Okay, so maybe it's the new one, so we haven't seen it yet. Okay.
Would the applicant be amenable to continuing this to our next meeting and closing the public hearing there once we review the plan some more and see if we have any other questions?
I mean, absolutely, yeah. We'd like you to be comfortable with the project and be good with this going forward.
Okay, and that would be 2 weeks from today.
Okay.
Yeah, March 26th. Okay. And the reason I ask is because we need your permission in order to continue.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions right now? Or we could open this up to public comments if there's anyone here who wants to comment. And then if someone wants to motion to continue it, we could do that. All right, not hearing any other questions. So are there any public comments at this time on this project? If so, feel free to unmute yourself. All right, not hearing any public comments at this time. So does anyone want a motion to continue?
I will motion to continue the notice of intent for 384 Deerfield Street to March 27th. Is that right? Just
26th.
26th, sorry, just pending further review of the materials the applicant just submitted today.
Mhm.
Second.
Right. Any other discussion before we vote on continuing? Okay. And just to clarify, that would be March 26th, 6:30 p.m. By Zoom again. All right. We will vote on the motion to continue. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Elizabeth.
Aye.
All right. And I'm also an aye. So we will continue this public hearing at our next meeting. And yeah, so if you guys could send those updated plans and everything, and it seems fairly straightforward, so we should be able to finish it up next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, thank
That's
you.
good. Thank you all.
Mhm. I have to say it's a little weird having 5 people that have to vote now. It's been just the 3 of us for so long. All right. So that is the last public hearing on our agenda. So now we're on our agenda to other business and enforcement updates. And first on the list, we have the Oak Hill Road mitigation. And Mitch, do you want to maybe talk about that a little bit? And I
Yeah,
think
so it's
Jeff is
this,
here.
yeah, this sliver of riverfront from across the street, um, like 530 or so. I think it's hemlock or white pines that were cut down. So I think Jeff is here to talk about possible mitigation. Mark from DEP basically said, you know, replace it and to mark this boundary.
Hmm.
So we can talk about the specifics.
Okay. All right, Jeff, thanks for coming to our meeting. You can you're muted right now.
What's that?
There you go. Thanks.
All right. Okay. So I've been informed by Mitch that we have riverfront property. And geez, I wish the property values could go up, but he calls it a river, I call it a drainage ditch. And I also have a wetland biologist that is going to be looking into this, but a river basically by Greenfield bylaws, as I understand it, has a 200-foot buffer zone on either side. And this drainage ditch that runs along Oak Hill Road, the source of this river is a 3-foot diameter concrete culvert. It proceeds south for about 1,000 feet, and there are concrete abutments on either side of the drainage ditch. The abutments support a water main for the town's water supply. The bottom of the 6-foot span right now has about 4 inches of water flowing through it. And anyway, I have no objections to planting trees on the west side of the road. We own 5 acres, and I think it was about 6 or 7 years ago. We planted on this 5-acre area. We planted 200 modified chestnut trees, an endangered species, subject to blight, but they're doing fairly well right now. They're about 4 to 5 feet tall. Anyway, if we had been cutting trees down on the west side of the road, where you have, it's a very steep pitch, throw me in jail. I wouldn't do anything like that because those trees are important for erosion control. You'd never catch me cutting any of those trees down. So on another part of our property, I'm aware we have a wetland. I am now familiar with the terms perennial, intermittent, and ephemeral brook. And what I contend is, even though I'm not sure what U.S. Department signified this drainage ditch as a perennial brook, it's not. It dries up, and even when we don't have a drought, the water stops flowing. It only flows when we have rain and snow out. So I do have a tentative meeting scheduled for next week between to develop our property. We want to put in one level 55 and older housing. We have a lot of great things planned for the neighborhood. And again, I have no objection to planting some trees. I think fruit trees are fantastic. I would like to basically litter our property with fruit trees. We're in the process of creating a food forest. Anyway, the matter of this drainage ditch being classified as a river with a 200-foot buffer zone, I think that requires further examination, as well as a meeting between Mitch, Eric, and the other parties that I mentioned. And also, my wetland biologist, he was telling me that I couldn't do it. He has to do it, or another wetland biologist. But during a period of non-drought, which is coming up fairly soon, in a month or two, the brook has to be examined, drainage ditch, correct myself. It basically has to be examined over a 4 or 5 day period. You know, if we want to call this drainage ditch a river, then we also have to classify Oak Hill Road as a river, because water flows down that whenever it rains or there's excessive snow. So I make a motion to take this up in a month.
Yeah, well, thanks for talking through the project a little bit. I do have a couple clarifying things. One of them is the riverfront area. Technically, it's not a buffer zone. It's actually like a resource area in and of itself. So it would be similar to doing work in a wetland, which is a resource area. Riverfront is also a resource area.
Can I interject just for 1 second?
Sure.
So I kind of I think I know what you're saying, Jeff, and it sounds like, so all right, let me just like broad stroke it. There's federal wetland regulations. US Army Corps of Engineers regulates the Clean Water Act, federal wetlands, and it's like not that strict of a law. State regulations under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act are stricter. They regulate perennial streams and a 200-foot riverfront area. Local ordinance in Greenfield is even stricter, and that regulates intermittent streams and perennial streams plus a 200-foot riverfront area. So federal regulations are not the strongest, state is stronger, local is strongest. So I think what you might have been saying is, you're right, under state law, it's not really probably gonna meet the standards for a perennial stream, but under the ordinance, it doesn't matter because we regulate intermittent and perennial with a 200-foot riverfront. Does that clarify it?
Yeah, that was going to be my next point too.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
go for it. No, that's fine.
Because I don't know, I all right, whatever, shut up.
So yeah, getting back to the ephemeral, once upon a time there was a thought to create a trout farm down that area, but the water doesn't flow consistently. It's ephemeral. It stops and it goes. It's not a perennial. It isn't. It's not intermittent. And I've been around here for quite a while, but I would also like to have my wetland biologists verify this.
I will also clarify that.
I am all for protecting our rivers and streams, and where we are up here on Oak Hill Road, nobody's going to be polluting. The trees that were removed in that buffer zone, they don't prevent erosion. We have a streak between the trees that were taken down more trees, and the drainage ditch. And I'm really not too concerned about planting a few more fruit trees where some evergreens were taken down. It's on the other parts of the property where Greenfield elected a harsher wetlands protection where you could have a swale between two neighbors, and at some point that swale could be, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but that swale could actually be considered riverfront property. So now you've got one neighbor who wants to build a garage, but he's within 200 feet of that riverfront property. I don't understand it completely. That's why I hire people to explain it to me. So again, before I commit to planting more trees in this area, and we will, but I know Mitch was out there with Eric. I don't know, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago when he was counting stumps, and some stumps were there. You got 6 stumps in 1 yard period. You can't. It's not healthy for trees to grow that close together. So where do we go from here, folks?
Yeah. Mitch, I know I think you've been out there more than any of us.
Yeah, I did invite 2 folks out there.
Yeah.
To take a look at this.
And Mitch, I was also going to ask if you looked into, I know it doesn't matter for the wetlands ordinance, but looked into this being perennial or intermittent for the Wetlands Protection Act as well.
Yeah, USGS does map it as perennial.
I will also say for an ephemeral stream has no groundwater input. It's surface water only. So we don't generally use the word ephemeral stream in Massachusetts because it's typically something associated with mountainous topography or like arid topography. And we don't really have a whole lot of that in Massachusetts. That's something you think about in like West Virginia or, Grand Canyon. But for the purposes of this conversation, ephemeral is not groundwater influenced. Perennial is, well, we all know what perennial is shown as a solid blue line on the current USGS topographic map, and intermittent is a dashed line or less than a half square mile drainage area as mapped by stream stats or as defined in the Wetlands Protection Act as defined in the ordinance. Just putting that on the conversation on the tape because it came up.
And I actually had a question. Jeff, you were talking about wanting to do projects on the property, and I didn't know if you were talking about like this area where the trees were cut, if this is where you were planning on doing projects or not, because there are times when people start clearing an area or something, and they should have filed their project, and the resolution can be file for an NOI if we think it could be permittable. But I just didn't know if where you were talking about maybe doing some building or whatever it was on this same part of the property or not.
Okay, well, the area that was cleared, there's a street right in front of it, so we have the frontage, and the first part of this whole project is to put in a 2-family single level building for 55 and older, basically model homes. We rezoned an industrial part of our property last year. We converted it from industrial to rural residential, and we have about 100 acres And the idea was to, we also have, let's see, it's over by Barton Road. Let's see, this was a number of years ago. There were several acres that were purchased, and in addition to the acreage, there was a strip. It's not a right of way. We own it. It's 50 feet wide and 900 feet long. It's an additional access to another portion of the property. And the thing is, we figured out that we can't afford to put in 900 feet of road without having houses helping to sponsor the cost on either side of it. So we converted the light industrial lower section to rural residential, and we're planning on putting a road in that will connect with another section of the rural residential, so that we can have a very nice rural residential community. And so this, I cannot go any further. You know, I can put up a couple of buildings on this lower section, but you know, what I really need to do is have the ephemeral streams, the brooks, the drainage ditches, and the swales all defined before we go any further, or you know, we really can't do much with the other part of the property. You know, we're looking to put 100 houses in here.
Yeah, and
I will say,
that projects can happen within riverfront area. We just approved a house that was, you know, built entirely within, it was going to be built entirely within riverfront area. It just has to be permitted properly and make sure it meets all the standards. So just because there is riverfront area for the Greenfield ordinance, it doesn't mean nothing can be built there or that no development can happen. It just has to be, you know, go through the permitting process, and whoever you hire to do that would know, you know how to make sure it meets
well,
the
the thing
standards.
is, didn't mean to interrupt, but when I got this going, to me, what's on the west side of the road is always been a drainage ditch. I know what a wetland is. I know what a brook is. But to me, it was a drainage ditch. If I knew otherwise, you know, I would have followed the proper channels. Just like, you know we have a wetland. That's why I have a wetland biologist who put up the pink flags and you know, do all the delineations. So anyway.
Yeah, and I guess I also just wanted to add that we're not trying to make you feel bad for not knowing, you know, a lot of times people start doing things and then they don't realize that there's like a resource area, and that's, you know, a totally common scenario, unfortunately. So you know, that
But you know,
happens.
as far as water resource area, the ground around here is it's like processed gravel. It's 200 feet plus of processed gravel. Rain comes down, gets into it, it goes straight down. There's you know, as far as erosion goes, I'm not overly concerned with it. Again, where do we go
So
from here?
yeah, so earlier you said you wanted to have an expert come out and look at the stream, and you were hoping that we could take this up again in a month. That's what I heard you say, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I guess now my question to the other commissioners is if we feel like that's a reasonable request. I know this has been before us for a while, but we haven't actually been able to like sit and talk it through. It's been on our agenda, but I guess in my mind, if trees are planted 2 months from now versus 1 month from now, or whatever, it might not make that much of a difference. So as long as we're not pushing this out indefinitely and nothing ever happens, Uh,
Yeah.
so I guess to the other commissioners, do you have any comments or anything on that?
I think what I understand is Jeff's request to wait until he has more information from his wetlands scientist till next month. I think that seems reasonable.
Is everyone okay with that?
I agree with that. But I again want to reiterate that if the stream is intermittent, it's still jurisdictional under the ordinance. If it's perennial, it's jurisdictional under the state and the city. But if it's intermittent, it's still jurisdictional under the city. Just want to put that out there.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we're all sort of in agreement that makes sense for you to, get some more information from your expert. Next month, our first meeting is on April 9th. Would that be enough time for you? That's like the one that's like a month from now.
Yeah.
Or April 23rd would be the other one in April.
Okay. Well, April showers bring May flowers. Again, I am not adverse to planting trees. So.
Well, and we can always, if we come back at another meeting, we can always kind of touch base and see where we are. And
okay.
I think in general we try to like work with people to get the best resolution that everyone's happy with and also protects the resource area.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some people who don't want to do what we want them to do, and then we have to do an enforcement order and say like this is going to be on your property, and unless you resolve it, it's going to be part of your deed. So we try not to like escalate unless unless we need to. So I think we're working with you and trying to do what we can, I think is the best. So
okay, much appreciated.
So I mean, April 9th, do you want to come back at that meeting and we could touch base if you've had time to talk to your
again, what I would like, well, I think he's in Arizona mountain climbing right now.
How about April 23rd?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay,
sure.
We'll do April 23rd.
All right.
So yeah, and if you have any questions or anything, you can reach out to Mitch.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess we'll see at our meeting on April 23rd then, unless you have anything else for tonight that you'd like to.
If something develops, I'll give you a ring. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and if you wanted to come back at a meeting before that, reach out to Mitch and let him know.
Oh, I love to stay up past my bedtime. Yeah,
yeah,
that would be great.
I appreciate you hanging out. We had two public hearings before this, so thanks for sticking it out.
Oh, I know. I know. I got bumped from the last one, and I thought I might be up first, but anyway, it's been interesting. So
yeah, unfortunately, we have like a certain order. Like in the city code, it tells us what order certain things have to be in. So
Yeah,
unless
yeah.
we like, yeah,
It is what it is.
it is
So,
what it is.
yeah. All right, folks.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Take care.
See ya. Okay. So next on our agenda, we have a certificate of compliance, Health Camp Road DEP file number 1680351, utility structure relocation.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. Again, thanks for sticking through this
Oh,
long in our meeting.
That's okay. Happy to do it. Don't apologize. I know how these things work. I feel like I'm doing great. I've been in ones that I've been up until like 12:30 at night. So you guys
Oh,
doing great.
man.
Thanks for having me back again, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back.
For the like 700th time on this project. So it's nice to see all your faces again. Yeah, so we completed the work over at Health Camp Road last fall. I know that Mitch had some time in the fall to go back out, take a look and make sure he felt like everything had, excuse me, reseated and come back in nicely around the structures that we had moved. And he kind of gave us the A-OK at that time that, you know, we could go in and kind of call that site good. Mitch and I had a site walk last week, just to kind of take a look at the site, make sure everything, you know, looked clean and ready to go. We feel like we have met all the conditions that were set forth when we applied for our NOI, and we are asking for our COC to be granted.
And I was just pulling up, oh, hold on a second. Pulling up, this is the request for certificate of compliance. There's 172 pages here, so there's a lot. There's a lot, but yeah, I know there were some photos of the vegetation being restored. Definitely looks like there's no erosion potential there.
At least not currently. When we were
Yeah.
out at when we were out at the site last week, I was shocked to see how much the bank has eroded even more. It was actually interesting to hear about that project, the first NOI. Obviously they're downstream of this, and I was just like, oh God, that river is misbehaving elsewhere. It's not just us.
Yeah, so letter. I don't know, Mitch, have you, oh yeah, we got as-built drawings. Mitch, I was gonna ask if you looked through the conditions. It sounds like you probably double checked all that to make sure it seemed like they were
Yeah, should
meeting.
all be in there.
Okay.
Was there any post-construction either, I'm sorry, I
Like continuing
remember, but like,
conditions.
yeah, like what, you know, post-construction wetland impact monitoring, if, you know, after they pulled up swamp mats, if there was any like post-construction wetland monitoring or mitigation monitoring or anything like that that we should probably be paying attention to.
You're asking if we had conditions.
Conditions.
Yeah,
I
in
don't
this
remember any.
172 page document.
Yeah,
You're in on
there's a
that.
lot of
lot of info on engineering stuff. The engineers on this project are very thorough. There are no, it's I think the biggest condition was to make sure that everything had reseeded and regrown so that there wasn't going to be any erosion control issues. I think some of the long-term conditions that you guys had put down, you know, like in perpetuity, that, you know, we couldn't leave trash at the site, that we couldn't go back and then start making new impacts to the project site, thinking that they were under this order. It was items like that.
Was the,
No dumping, no
veg-
pesticides.
was the
Sorry,
veg
go ahead.
cover associated with wetlands, like a performance standard, or was it just make sure it's stable? Or was it like
Just make sure it's
75%
stable.
specific? Okay, gotcha.
If I remember correctly.
Is this area like part of your management area? Do you mow and stuff in here or not really?
I mean, they do vegetation management. They did it right before the first round of, like they did it as part of our first notice of intent when we did the other structures, a couple of years ago. So they had gone through and done a round of mowing associated with the area when we did those structures. So, you know, they do it on a cycle. I don't have that cycle memorized. I'm not part of the National Grid veg management team. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm getting over a cold. So there is, you know, there is occasional management of vegetation just because of the nature of being under a transmission line that they have to maintain safety. So, but
I was just wondering if that was one of the conditions was to follow your management plan. Or
no, that wasn't.
Yeah, the only thing it says is mowing or vegetation management prohibited, no mowing or vegetation management within the wetlands outside of approved plans. So I
Right.
think that's saying like, you know, if it's part of your already approved plans for
Yep.
maintenance, then it's
your management,
okay, but
that's okay.
nothing in addition to that. Yeah, I was just looking up here under the 71, you know, a letter from professional engineer, as-built plans. I think I just scrolled past both of those in the other document, but I paused on them briefly.
Because you didn't want to look at 170 pages.
I mean, we can go back to
No,
it.
the letters at the beginning. It's from the engineers, myself, the National Grid, environmental manager as well. So that was assigned to this project.
So no development outside the approved permitting footprint.
Yep, we just moved our structure,
Perfect.
and we will not be going back and doing anything unless we come back and get another NOI or another RDA or another emergency thing. So who knows? I'm sure you guys will see my face again in X number of years for something else. So we one of my coworkers and I were just chatting. So I took this project over from him 7 years ago. And prior to that, he had the project for 3 years before me. So this project has been a long time coming. A decade in the making to get all these structures moved.
I was just gonna share the site visit photos that I guess Mitch probably took these.
I took that sign down as I was leaving, just so you guys know.
Oops. Uh-oh. I'm accidentally commenting on it. And these said site visit 3/6/2024.
Yep, we just did it last week.
Yeah.
I don't know, those private, you know, no trespassing signs are not grid. That's the landowner. Those are new. That's the backwater stream. So we had there were mats that went over that to protect that during construction.
Glad I'm not weed.
I was gonna say some beautiful, beautiful dead knotweed. And that's that sort of inland wetland that you just went past, that kind of wet spot. That's the delineated wetland on site. Again, that was also matted too. That whole area was actually matted. That's our new structure.
And so I'm assuming these poles are from the old structure.
Yep. So if you remember correctly, we had cut below grade. So when we cut them, there was bank. There's not anymore. That's how quickly it's eroded again. So yeah, DEP had you know, at the time they had advised, you know, don't go in, don't make it, you know, don't make extra impacts. But at the time when we had removed them, there was, that was land. So obviously now that's eroded, so they're visible now.
Is that a safety hazard? As a navigable waterway, as a water of the US?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it would be a different project though,
Yeah, to go in and remove them, that wasn't part of the project.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess if it wasn't a navigable waterway, I mean, it was still a WOTUS, but it wasn't a navigable waterway when you first permitted this with Army
Right.
Corps, so.
Where you mean where the structures were? It was
Yeah.
it was land.
It was land.
Yeah, it was bank, yeah, or riverfront, not
Yeah, riverfront area.
actual land underwater. Now it's
Yeah.
like waters
It's
of
land
it's
underwater.
actual navigable waterway, Army Corps.
Yeah, this is one of the most interesting rivers I've ever worked on. It's pretty wild how much it's moved over the last decade.
I just wonder if it continues to migrate further, if those poles are gonna be like a safety issue.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I'm not the whole point of the way they created the structure and created the base was that, knowing that river was going to continue migrating, so that long term that should be okay. Again, but I'm not an engineer, so whatever happens over time, they may need to come back and look at it again. But for now, it should be able to withstand some, erosion.
Is that anything that we can hold the applicant to in the future? It looks like as the river continues to find its equilibrium and meander, there's these giant structures sticking up in the middle of a navigable waterway that's sort of sketchy. Can we like do anything about this?
I don't, not off the top of my head, I don't know what we could do. I mean, I don't know what we could require.
I mean, it's grid put it in there, like I'm just thinking in terms of like ongoing conditions as part of the COC. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? This is a safety issue. It's not just a permitting thing.
How far
Like-
down do they go? I mean, can you just get like a tractor and haul them out, or?
Well, so here's the problem. The bank is so unstable, tractor now. And the bank is so even during the first round when we did, the caisson structures, the big sort of culverts, that we were able to pull those out because they had eroded so significantly. This was the first round of permitting for the other structures. We were able to sort of like hang out over into the river and pull those caissons out. But it was very, lack of a better word, very sketchy, for safety reasons for the contractors, just because the bank is so very, very unstable. Right. We were trying to avoid significant impacts within the bank or to land underwater. So we were, just planning to pull from above. I don't know how far down those existing structures go. That would be, I'd have to ask the engineers. Just I wouldn't want to give you incorrect information. So I don't know how far down those go. But definitely not tractor worthy pulling out. It would need to be a larger piece of equipment. You'd need to put down mats and bring down some serious equipment to pull them out.
Even if it was just like cut flush at, that base elevation. I just something sticking out when there's
I think
kayakers
that's less safe. If
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was gonna say.
elevation, it's underwater and people are gonna step
Yeah.
on it. That's
You're
a significantly more dangerous thing to have
Yeah.
than having some poles sticking out of the water.
Yeah.
I think it just becomes like a skill thing. You have to learn to go around them or whatever. or whatever.
I mean, they're very noticeable. If somebody,
Not in flood. And
Maybe
if
they
the
should be
river
like,
I mean,
continues
you
to
could say the
move,
same thing about tree stumps in flood though, too.
yeah, but this
Those are
is
natural.
your property. It's not a tree, it's grid. You know what I mean? It's like somebody could sue you, you know, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just thinking about like safety and risk, I guess. I'm thinking about safety and risk.
Hmm.
You know, we've got kayakers coming down there. I don't know if we have ever swimmers really. Well, no, we do. We have swimmers in the Green
Waders. There's
Right, yeah.
waders. You can't swim there. It's like 3 feet, 3 inches deep most of the
Yeah, but you can
year.
see the erosion on the right descending bank here. I'm assuming that we're facing downstream, right? So like you can see
That's
that
facing upstream. You're facing
okay,
upstream in this
sorry,
photograph.
left descending stream bank. Then you can see where the mean annual high
Oh,
water is.
shoot.
So
I'm so sorry. My screen just went dark because I hadn't moved it in a while. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
I don't think I know how to.
Sorry about that, you guys.
Yeah, Kristen, I think we can't annotate anymore. I think
Oh,
that was on the
okay.
old software we were using. The
But
WebEx.
anyways, you can see where the erosion is. That's mean annual high. I mean, that's
Mhm.
where the average high water line is. And that's kind of not that far from the top of those poles. So I don't know. I'm just thinking like
I think I think the photograph is a little bit, the depth is not right. Those poles are taller than the bank. Also, that's not mean annual high water at all.
you're right. I can't see the other bank, and it would depend
Yeah.
on what the other bank
That's-
looks like.
That's not mean annual high water at all.
If we don't have
Oh.
both banks in the picture.
That's
Oh,
just,
you're right. No,
those
go
are
back,
just,
go back, that one. So you can see that the right descending stream bank is lower. Is that right? Did
yes.
I get it right this
Looks
time?
like
Okay.
it.
Yes, it's
Yeah,
quite a
you're
bit
right.
lower. Yeah.
Okay. So then that would be the incipient point of flood. So the flood would go over to the floodplain on the right bank, and the left bank is higher. So you're right. I get that now. But still, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Just a thought. I'm just throwing it out there, guys.
Yeah.
Like, there's some sticks in the river that are like pretty significant. And this is a
Yeah.
navigable waterway where people swim and kayak. Don't we have like a don't we have like a race, like a swimming race in the river every year? Or is that the Deerfield?
Yeah, but I don't think that's that's in the green, but I don't think it goes up there.
Yeah. You can't swim in this stretch
Yeah.
unless it's a significant flood stage. And again,
Oh.
if you're in significant flood stage, you shouldn't have anybody swimming in it.
Yeah.
That's
If
true.
the river is legitimately ankle deep here. I have walked many, many times across it.
I mean, I think if there's really concern, I mean, I think maybe just marking them if there's a really concern, like buoy or marking them right. I mean, I know where I work down, I mean, on the Connecticut, there's just things that are there. That are just marked because they're there, you know, they're not coming
I mean,
out.
we could go out and, I mean, I could even do that, like go out and spray paint them if National Grid or, you know, if that was a requirement. You know, that's certainly something, again, so if we added a buoy, that would be, you know, you'd end up having an anchor, that'd be impacts to land underwater. There's a lot of implications to doing those sort of things. If you ask, you know, if you were to ask us to go back out, we need to lay matting back down, and then then we have to go through and do a whole bunch of permitting again to put matting down, get construction material down there, then go through testing, you know, turtle nesting stuff again. So it would be a significant thing to go, you know, remove them now.
Did we
Would they?
specifically request that these would be cut at like 3-4 feet elevation and not at the elevation of the
In the plans that we submitted in the NOI, we said we were going to cut below grade. We did. It just happens to now be in a river, which it wasn't before.
Gotcha.
Which is the whole thing, was that when we did the work, this was not river, and now it is because it's moved that much again. It's
This is a
crazy.
new problem. This is
Yeah.
definitely unique. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting project area to be working on for many years. I feel like I've been hanging out on these meetings with you guys for a lot of years now. You guys all must be sick about hearing about this project.
No.
Mhm. I think I just found in there. I was just doing a search for the word cut, and I
Yeah.
found the above ground portion of the structure will be disassembled and cut off at least 18 inches below grade non-agricultural areas, or cut off at least 48 inches below grade in agricultural areas.
So at the time, this was cut below grade.
Do we have like pre-con or I guess during construction photos? I don't know if I really need to see that. I'm just curious. I'm not asking for you to pull it up. I'm just curious. Do we have that?
I definitely have photographs that I can share. If you give me 1 second, I can pull them up for you.
We have multiple site visit, like different days.
I guess
Site
I'm just
visits
saying, like,
too.
you can confirm that what you said is what you did. I don't need to see photos, just saying.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I can
Okay.
definitely verify that we did in fact, that these poles were sticking out, the original ones, that we did in fact cut them below grade, that they were in fact part of the land at the time and not in a river. So yeah, I mean that's those from the fall.
This is July, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
God.
July 31st.
Yeah.
So it was under all this Japanese knotweed somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we had like 14 inches of rain in July and 9 inches of rain in August. I mean, we had a really floody
It
summer.
was so I live outside of Montpelier, Vermont, and I don't know if you guys had the joyous, seeing the news what happened to Montpelier
Yeah.
over the summer, but I live in a town called Calais and we got 9 inches of rain in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not
We're
not
downstream
a
of
great,
you. We get it
not a
all too.
not a great summer.
No, really.
It was awful. I had my second kiddo over the summer, and I was thinking I'd have this really lovely maternity leave with lots of sunshine and playing with babies outside, and sat inside all summer while it rained. So worst.
This one is from November, and you can't really. I think it's looking towards that same area.
Yeah, that's looking northward. Yep.
Just all knotweed. Oh yeah, you can really see that
Somewhere
lower
in
bank though on the other side though. So yeah,
Yeah.
getting that mean annual high is probably mid bank on the other side.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it really is all knotweed. It's the
Mhm.
worst.
Gosh, poor Green River.
The other side
So
is too. It's pretty
yeah.
impressive how rivers can move knotweed. The rhizomes on that plant are really
Mhm.
impressive.
Nancy's still
Yeah.
on the call.
Um, yeah, so I like I know it's not a permanent like a permanent thing, but I feel like maybe if they like spray painted it bright orange or something like that, at least right now, while it's like a new feature in the river, it would be more visible. I mean, I don't think it would be reasonable to ask them to go spray paint it like every year or anything, but I think because it is like a new thing sticking out in the river from this project, and you're talking about safety reasons. I feel like at least if they went out and painted them, at least it'll like alert people that they're there. I mean, I know
Yeah,
that's not much, but it
it
would be
wouldn't
good
even
if
have to
they
be the
were
whole
removed.
thing, but maybe just like the top of it, or
Yeah. I don't know. I know, Kristen, that doesn't go as far as you want, but
Oh
I
no,
don't
I
I
have
don't know
no
what else.
agenda. I was just bringing it up. I honestly, I don't have a solution in mind. I was just bringing it up that
Yeah.
it just seems sort of scary to me. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyone else have any other
I did a
ideas?
FEMA study after Hurricane Irene, and I had to walk 9 river miles on the Green River. I walked 80 river miles in 4 different rivers, but I walked, I think, 9 or 11 miles in the Green River, and it was sketchy. Like, you know what I mean?
You should, so the Winooski up in Montpelier, which is where we live, it's incredible to see how much debris is stuck on all the river, on all of our bridges right now. So there's like 4
Yeah.
different bridges that cross the Winooski in Montpelier, and all of them have debris hanging off of them. There are
Like really high
like
up.
there are trash bins along all of the rivers, just like big metal bins that had been in, kind of riverfront areas that got washed downstream and just deposited everywhere. It's
And
not great.
as a wetland scientist, as a person who's often in streams and rivers, like, yeah,
Oh,
even if you're not supposed to be swimming, sometimes you're in them, and I just think about safety. I have no solution. I have no agenda, just
yeah.
throwing it out there.
I put a rusty nail through my foot doing a delineation on the Connecticut River, and then had to have surgery like 8 years ago because it was so infected. So wetland scientists,
extra.
we do a lot of fun stuff. It's great.
Yep. Be grateful you didn't get coal tar in that wound.
Seriously. Oh, yep. Was not fun.
Okay, so
We were looking for a rare plant. That was fun until I put a nail through my foot.
So with those poles, do people feel like that's reasonable to spray paint them at least so they're visible? Have that as a condition on the certificate of compliance? I'm not seeing any yeses
Well, I
or
already
no's.
voiced my
Yeah, I
opinion.
think it's-
I'm shutting up.
Is this really within our jurisdiction to
I don't know that you can add a condition to
determine?
the COC.
It doesn't seem like it relates to the resource per se. This is more like Kristen said,
Yeah.
it's safety, navigable waters. I feel like this might be good advice, but doesn't necessarily
Okay.
belong in an order.
That's fair, yeah.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, Mitch, I know, I know with the certificate of compliance, we usually talk about the continuing, the ongoing conditions. I was thinking we could add additional conditions, but that might be something to look into.
Yeah, we've never done that. I can check the form, see if there's even a spot for that. I think it's just ongoing ones from the original order.
Okay. Sorry, I just found the part about certificate of compliance in the Wetlands Protection Act. Yeah, it just says if the final order contains conditions which continue past the completion of work, such as maintenance or monitoring, the certificate of compliance shall specify which, if any, of the such conditions shall continue. The certificate shall also specify to what portions of the work it applies, if it does not apply to all work regulated under the order.
Yeah, there's not really a
Yeah.
spot in the form. It just
Yeah,
says the
it's
following
just-
conditions of the order shall continue.
Okay, yep. All right. Well, I guess that could be advice that maybe be good to paint them. But maybe that's not something that would go on a certificate of compliance. So, okay, so we saw the letter, we saw the as-built plans.
Do we have
looked at-
the
Go ahead.
list of our special conditions? Do we have any?
Yeah, that's what
A lot.
I,
Like 80,
I mean,
78.
a lot of those are just like our boilerplate
Those are boiler. Yeah.
conditions.
I think one of the
Um,
things that you had requested was that as part of putting it in, that we included the information from rare species get filed. So that was filed as part of our, I think that was one of the special conditions.
Want to go down to 71 or whoever is sharing your screen?
Yeah,
So
that's
that
me.
says upon completion of construction, a COC shall adopt.
Yeah, request for yeah, that's where it says letter from a registered professional engineer, certifying compliance, an as-built plan, post-construction photographs demonstrating compliance with the order, including established vegetation where required. And then I just noticed that 70 is ongoing and does not expire upon completion, which is just that the area needs to be maintained after, after it was stabilized, just to make sure that, it remains stabilized. That's all that one is. And then the in perpetuity ones are down here. No dumping, no additional alteration without filing. We talked about mowing or vegetation management, except according to their plans. Stabilized slopes shall be maintained and designed. Well, they didn't stabilize any slopes, so I don't know if that really applies. Pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and fertilizers prohibited. Native plant species planted. And then invasive species monitoring and management.
What does that mean, management? It's all invasive.
Yeah, it says continued monitoring and management of non-native and/or invasive plant species on site shall be conducted to prevent the spread of non-native and/or invasive plant species within the project area, including but not limited to the stormwater basin. I think that might have been from another project.
Yeah.
I was like, we made it pretty clear that this whole project site was a giant knotweed infestation and has been.
Yeah.
I think what we had agreed to was that, before we pulled out mats, before we pulled out equipment, that we were cleaning our, construction equipment as we were, taking things out to make sure it didn't transfer. So maybe that was what it was supposed to have been.
And I think you guys did plant some native species
That was
too,
the
right?
That was the first round of the project. We did not agree to it for the
not with
second
this
round
one.
because
Okay, yeah.
it didn't make sense because it's a giant knotweed infested project site. So none of those, all of them were overshaded by the knotweed, every one of them. So that was the first round of the project. We didn't do that for this one.
Okay. Yeah,
And
they run together.
And all of those plants that we planted are downriver somewhere. Because all of that bank eroded. So.
Is there anything?
I'll make a plug, not really,
Sure.
just discussion.
Sure.
It's clearly a dynamic stretch of the river, right? We've got the evidence, we've got the piers, the posts standing there as witness. So it just seems like it'd be a good stretch to do some study of in terms of their hydrology and its dynamic nature. There are folks out there that do work in this area and like reconnecting floodplains, trying to see what kinds of natural solutions there could be to redirect the flow could really be in your best interest because you just moved them how many feet and the bank
we had
chased you.
So I don't think you were here for the first part of this project, a decade ago, but we actually had gone to DEP and recommend doing bioengineering. We literally went through 5 different iterations of how to armor the bank. We had wanted to use root wads and had done a bunch of stabilization things to kind of help prevent further erosion. And we went through years of studies and looked at what that would have done. And then DEP said, absolutely no, no, thank you. Even though they had initially told us, yes, please do that. That's a great idea. We love that. You know, we looked at armoring in the traditional engineering senses, had gone through all those. DEP was, you know, absolutely not. We want you to look at this bioengineering, do that. Did years of study to do that, handed it to DEP. They said, absolutely not. We don't want that. Just move your structures back. So it's been a very long road, and I agree with you. I think they're, you know, and we tried to do those things, and DEP hated them and said no. So
excellent due diligence on your part.
Yeah.
And that's a really excellent example to keep in mind. So I'm glad to be aware of that. And and in general,
another
that's one of
project
those
site.
Yeah.
Yeah, at another project site, we ended up putting something called sheet piles around the structures, which are basically like literally giant metal sheets around them. And that was something that DEP agreed to, you know, in the same year that we were doing this project. So
Western region.
Yep. So, yep. There's a lot of things at play. So we did certainly look at all those options.
Was that during COVID when we had a little staff turnover in Western region?
No, that project happened prior to COVID too. I think we got it approved. Yeah, we definitely had it approved with the EP prior to COVID, because I went and did the meeting. Yeah, I did the meeting like in person. So I think when I went and asked for the COC, we sat outside at one of the town halls. Everybody had like a chair 5 feet apart. So
remember that, guys?
There you go.
Remember those days?
I gotta say, I do appreciate the Zoom calls because it prevents me from driving from Vermont. Not that I miss seeing all of you guys in person, but it certainly makes my life easier. I got to tuck my kiddos in tonight, so it was all good.
I second that. I second that. I attend a lot of meetings, and it's nice to just do half hour instead of like 6 hours plus per diem. It's really nice.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to discuss, or what are we doing, guys? I'm getting tired.
Yeah. So I think someone needs to motion to issue a certificate of compliance if they feel that we should.
Are we
be
done
issuing one.
discussing? Because I'm ready to motion if we're done discussing, but I don't want
Go
to jump
for
into
it.
anybody's. Okay, I'm ready to motion to issue a certificate of compliance for, and I already forget what we're talking about. Nope. I got it. Health Camp Road.
Second.
So we have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance that was seconded. Any discussion on that motion? The only thing I would say right off the bat is just listing the conditions that are continuing in perpetuity.
Yeah, it's at 70 and 71.
Oh
gosh, no, more than that.
70
through 78.
70, well, 71 is not. That's just get a certificate of compliance. But 70 is, which is just, make sure it's stabilized. And then in perpetuity, it had 72 to 78.
Okay.
But we did just talk about 78 and how it's covered with knotweed and
So no future monitoring or management required because it's 100% non-native.
It's too bad. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
it's not native. There's some native stuff in there still. Gotta dig for it.
Being grouchy and tired. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if it makes sense to have that as a continuing one if, because it would just be for the work area anyway.
Would it be through 76 then? Because 77 is for the planting, which has been done.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we include 77, then that would prevent them from going out and just planting more species,
Gotcha.
planting more things that are native.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I think 72 through 70, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77 maybe makes sense. Unfortunately, 78 down there might not. Everyone okay with that? Trying to look at people's faces here. Okay.
That sounds fine.
All right. So we have those continuing conditions. Mitch, is there anything else we need to note for the form?
No, I think we got it.
Right. Any other discussion on this before we vote on it? All right, so we'll do the vote to issue the certificate of compliance. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Elizabeth,
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye. So that is one certificate of compliance that is issued. Thanks.
Everybody, appreciate it. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, you
Aye.
too. All right. So next on our agenda, we had MACC's annual environmental conference. I don't know if we really need to talk much about that, but Emily and I went to that. I think Erica might have done some virtual ones.
Yeah.
Good times.
Did you find out about the RDA thing? Did you ask about that?
No, I actually had a number of questions to ask, and there were a lot of people with a lot of questions, so I
Oh.
didn't ask that one. The question I asked was about getting a fine book to be able to fine people under the ordinance, which we are supposed to be allowed to do. And essentially, they said to talk to Mitch, and I have been working on this for a while. And essentially, they said to talk to the mayor and the city's legal counsel at this point. So I think that's basically what's left to do on that.
Okay.
Mark said no, don't extend RDAs.
I kind of thought Mark would say that.
Yeah. He said if MACC says you can, they are wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
Mark would say that. I think I even said that in the meeting. I said Mark
I
would
think you did.
Mark would disagree with us, but
Yeah.
whatever. It was one time. I don't want to be a troublemaker.
So I don't know if anyone had anything else major to talk about the conference, but I just figured we'd throw it on there in case something came up that we, learned that we wanted to share.
I found it really helpful. I did the 2 fundamentals that were offered, and one was about running a meeting, and it made me feel really about our Concom. And the other one was about rate plan.
All right, so Emily's
Okay.
gonna be our next co-chair. I feel it. She's ready to escalate.
All right. Well, yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend attending the conference either virtually or in person in the future. It's definitely helpful.
Very interesting.
Next on our agenda, we have Miller's Meadow Planting Project. Is Nancy still here? I assume is Nancy here to talk about that? Nancy, sorry you're always so late on our agenda and it takes so long to get to you.
I feel so bad that you guys are still here. But Mitch is taking the lead on this, but I think that it's just to give a sort of an update that I think you learned at the last meeting that it's that the city's going to be applying for an MVP grant. You knew that, right? And it turns out the city person, Athena, who writes the grants proposals, is going to be writing this grant. So we met with her just the other days. So, and I think, Mitch, you got to be there, right? Are you hearing
I'm
me?
here. Yep.
Yeah. You shared the drawing that Peter Wackenagel had drawn at the last meeting. Is that accurate?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which
So one of
everyone liked.
Greenfield's interests and my interest is to expand the project to go all the way to the river. So right now it's Coleraine Road and the trees along the side embankment down to the flat area. So Nick Miller, and I've gone and forgotten his company name all of a sudden, but anyway, do you guys know who that is? He's a fluvial.
Is
Field
he field
geology.
geology? Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's coming tomorrow to talk with us about the river edge. And so then we'll decide, you know, try to get a little more information from him. And then we'll see where we go. But it just seemed like it's an opportunity with MVP being interested to not just do the hillside.
Mhm.
But we'll see what he has to say and what the city thinks. And yeah, I know I'm excited about it being an MVP project.
Cool.
It'd be really so great if we could get the whole place yeah, cleaned up. Oh, and one question I had was I know that you folks have been using a portion of that area for parking for some events. And so I was looking at the property and um wanted to be sure that we did something that, that whatever we do doesn't preclude what you guys want to do. So I don't know that MVP would help with the flat area, but at the moment, that's right now the dream is to get that to be a pollinator meadow, at least at the moment, and then maybe plant trees later, but at least get it. And then the parking, I would put, if you guys want parking, I would like to have that parking near the entrance instead of out in the middle of the field. And it could just be mown grass. And so it can double as somebody who wants to play frisbee on it or do some other kind of activity. And if we get the meadow, then we would definitely have mown pathways through that for dog walking and just being out in the meadow. So
Yeah,
it'd be really beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like parking is important only insofar as it allows people to access the site. I personally don't think we should be prioritizing parking over meadow habitat. Um,
Well, as far as
so
Actually,
the site, we were thinking of there would be maybe parking places here and there along the access road.
mhm.
Most people do want to be farther out and in the place that's wider. So that kind of parking. But you've had an event, right? That I know
That
the
yeah,
was
river is no longer there, but you have a smaller event that you've used for parking. Is that right?
go ahead, Erica.
well, I was just saying, yeah, well, Green River is using the fairgrounds now, and we had that one time that kitchen place, but I think
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
think the main recurring parking was the Green River
Mhm.
Festival. And that was just because it's like, it's a big grassy area. Like, why
Right.
not let people park there? They had to apply to us to, get a permit to be able to do it. So
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, I don't think they need it anymore now that they're up at the fairground.
Yeah.
yeah. So
I would like to see something down there though, because it kind of looks like some people are living there. I'm not sure. There's a motorhome that's always there.
Yeah, I don't, I'm sure there are people living there, and
So
for me, it's, I'm glad that the police don't run them off. I mean, they got to
yeah.
be someplace, and I wish they could do it more legally, so then we could put a porta potty there or something, but I
Right.
don't
Well, I think
know.
if it got some plantings, it would just look a little bit nicer and they could just sort of
Yeah,
blend
thank
in a little bit.
that. Yeah, it just could be a really beautiful place, and
Hmm. Love to see a
yeah,
pollinator. That would be awesome. Pollinator, I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, with this grant, do we would should the Conservation Commission like send a letter of support or whatever since we are managing the property? And is now the time to do that
It's
or later?
definitely, Athena definitely has an interest in getting support letters. And the actual official announcement is the end of this month. And then there's 6 weeks at least until you actually needs to be submitted. So I'd say wait a little bit longer
Okay.
so that at least you know what the project is
Yeah.
that you're responding to. And yeah, that would be great. Thank you for offering that.
Yeah.
So one
I guess
portion is the knotweed and possibly removing that. Um, I guess what I wanted to determine is if we want that part of it, and if we do, then do we think that would be a notice of intent? Because we
mm,
got to get our permits in order before the deadline,
before the grant,
before we apply.
so it would be knotweed removal on on the bank. Is that where the knotweed is to be removed?
Yeah.
The knotweed is on the bank.
Yeah. Well, I was imagining it could be elsewhere as well.
Right. Well, it could be.
Yeah.
Actually, Chris Politan came a couple of weeks ago, and he's working up an estimate for there's a meadow strip at the foot of the trees along the edge of Coleraine Street because we can't put trees over where the sewer pipe is. And
Mhm.
so he's doing an estimate there and feels like, well, okay, we can extrapolate from there to the larger area in terms of cost.
Mhm.
So that's good. But he sort of felt like he wouldn't touch the riverbank. He wouldn't do anything to the knotweed. He would live with it, even though we know that knotweed actually destabilizes riverbanks. So you may think, oh, it's well vegetated, but that
Mhm.
actually, unfortunately, it's not the right kind of vegetation.
Mhm.
Um, so that's what we wanted, another opinion, and
Mm.
so that's what Nick will give us. And there is also things like the bittersweet and stuff that's along that edge, but we feel like, we could deal with that with volunteers and stuff. So kind of, so we'll see about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, for permitting purposes, um, or for Nancy, would the removal just be all hand removal, or is there herbicides going to be used, or?
I think we
Well,
just how stubborn. So you can go ahead, but just how stubborn knotweed is, I think the plan would be herbicide.
yeah, that's what Chris thought, is that you can't get rid of it unless you use herbicide.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what Nick has to say about that.
Yeah.
Actually, the other thing that he told me that I didn't know is he said the roots can be 10 feet deep.
Really?
So what he said, that surprised me. I like,
Wow.
So that was, he said you have to use herbicide on it because the roots are that deep that it's just, just cutting and cutting and cutting. It just,
Yeah.
you can't get rid of it. So I don't know if that's true because I know there's some people in Connecticut that have been doing it. I certainly know that Wisty's been trying, and is feeling optimistic. So I don't know. It's a learning curve.
Yeah. So I guess I think when we talked about Wisty's project in the past, I think we kind of decided there was a presentation by MACC that was talking about different forms of invasive removal and what permitting is generally used. And their recommendation was if it's hand removal, that can probably be handled with an RDA. Once you get pesticides, herbicides involved, then it's probably an NOI if it's in a resource area. So I think if herbicide would be used, it probably would be an NOI based on that guidance, from MACC. Because then we have to condition, like there has to be licensed applicators, there's like all these potential impacts. So
And NOIs take forever, don't they?
They don't take that long. I don't, Mitch, do you have like an idea?
There's only 6 weeks between
Yeah.
when they announce this and when you.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta hire
When you
someone.
apply for something like an MVP, for something on the condition that you get permission, the NOI permission, so you don't actually have it in hand. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Mitch, but you haven't been through an MVP grant, have you?
No.
No, that's what I thought.
Yeah, we'd
I've
also be
worked
waiting
with
on.
them. I've been a partner in several, and yeah, the pre-permitting for this kind of work is it's a tricky thing in terms of the timing.
And
then
have
you're
you been able to apply for something on the condition that XYZ, you get the permitting? That you've applied before you have the permit in hand?
The grants I've been in haven't required permitting of this type, but we've been aware of it. So, but it is my impression that they're fairly strict in general, about the conditions and terms of the grant. So it isn't one that I would expect there to be leniency in terms of, wiggle room.
Well, we'll find out.
Yes, it's a worthy effort.
Yeah, and I mean, if I mean, I'm trying to think of like what the timeline would actually be from when you submit the form to, getting an order of conditions. Because then it has to go to DEP, and then you have to get a DEP file number.
Can't imagine it happening in 6 weeks.
It's also priority habitat. So be waiting on natural heritage.
Natural heritage, we have to hear back from them.
Right.
Which you'd probably have to hear from them either. I mean, whether it was an RDA or an NOI for us, you're going to have to hear from natural heritage
Nancy,
either way.
something to consider. Something to consider, Nancy. I'm sorry, my signal is a little bit
Yeah, you
bad, so
froze
I
for a
might
second.
drop in and out. That there are towns that we've worked with in our region at FLT who have done things in stages, basically. So you begin with one MVP for a period that does a certain, X amount of the overall project, and then you apply for the next to build on it. And that's helpful too, because another way that the grant structure works is that you get reimbursed once a task is completely done. So if you're chunking it up, that means that they'll be reimbursing you as you go for the work that you've done. So that maybe even though it's possible to get the funding to do both portions, you want to think about focusing on the ones that don't have as many requirements, and then you can be working on getting ready for the next stage that then you could say, and this is another component of this important work that we're doing.
Thank you for that advice. In the city, that I know, Andrew, I haven't met the person, but that we do have a liaison with the MVP, so we could ask, get answers to questions that we have. And so thank you for all that advice, and yeah, and you're interested in that property and making it better.
Thank you for your interest in making it better. You're
Oh
the
my
one
goodness.
actually putting this all together, it sounds like.
So far, it's been pretty easy. And fun, definitely fun.
Nice.
So, thank you.
Natural Heritage told me it sounded like if we're just planting in an area that's, managed already and mowed, then that's exempt. So if we add the invasive work, we go through them.
Yeah. All right. Nancy, did you have anything else, or does anyone else have anything for Nancy?
I did bring this little thing about Highland Park if you have the energy to look for
Oh, yeah.
it. It's a really late.
What,
What do
yeah,
you want
what,
to do?
is everyone okay to look at that real quick while we're here?
While we're here. I know, just go to the 11th hour. Mitch would have to get me to share screen, and I just have 6 images of what's been going on.
I think you should just be able to.
Oh, you think it's
Is there, you have a share screen
I
button
see.
on the
Oh,
bottom?
yeah, you're right. I can do the share screen. I see it now. Okay.
And just for the new people, this was was this an RDA that, or something you got permitted through us that you're
That's,
now
I was
working
gonna
on?
say it's not your property, but
No.
I get it permitted through you, so I just thought it would
Yeah.
be fun to share. So,
Yeah.
and so, why is it doing that? Okay, so here's a map of where the area is, which you all know it's the Bears Den Road down in Highland Pond, starting from the pond and going down to where the road makes a big curve. And there's these 2 huge trees, a sugar maple and a sycamore. And then there's the section that we did going from Poet Seat, the lower Poet Seat parking lot up to Poet Seat. And these are our main target here, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, the barberry and the burning bush and the multiflora rose. So those are the key things. And here's a Poet Seat tower photo of, we had large numbers of people who responded to put it in the newspaper, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll come and cut invasives. I'm really, I just didn't know. I just was so surprised that people love doing it. And that people, it's so satisfying. So here's just an example of a large burning bush that was cut down and a small one. And we're cutting the small ones, like 2 feet up, with the goal that we will go back again after the first blush of growth, and then we'll cut that off. So we're just trying to keep them from sort of photosynthesizing, or as Wisty calls it, carbohydrate starvation. And here's another picture of Poet Seat. This was a more complicated area, where the water tank is. So this is the downhill side of the water tank. And there was just, I'm going to reach out to the DPW because it looked like at one point they had mown this area, but there's good stuff growing in here as well as bad stuff. So that was more challenging, trying to separate the one from the other, because we're not always so good at identifying things. And then over to Highland Park. So this little stream here is right next to the huge maple tree. The huge maple tree is over here. And I've seen toothwort down in this area, and there's a lot of trillium underneath all over the place. And here's a before and after. So working in the fall is really great because the burning bush is so obvious. And so that's what it looked like before we started, and when we finished, it looked like that. So we'll see next spring, and some more filing happy faces of people enjoying being there. So that's my little slideshow. So
Okay, thanks for the update.
enabling us to do that.
Thanks for doing it.
Pleasure. We actually, I did some invasive plant from in Griswold conservation area a bunch of years ago. I don't know how that's going for you guys, but they were trying to get rid of the burning book. No, the bittersweet.
Oh, that. We also got
Mhm.
multiflora rose over there.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Yeah.
But it's satisfying. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the update. Good thing to end our meeting with here. Positive updates.
Thank you for what you do.
Yeah.
Amazing.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you, and thanks for being here.
And
I
thanks
guess
for all your volunteers.
Yeah, thanks to the volunteers too. All right. Well, if no one has anything else for Nancy, we can see if there's anything else on the agenda.
Don't look.
So our next topic is nothing anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda.
I have
I
a couple
think,
things, unfortunately.
okay. All right.
I got an emergency cert that DPW sent today, and I was out there yesterday looking at it. But it's Shelburne Road. I guess there's concerns that the road will be undermined, so they want to put in some riprap.
Hmm.
So kind of similar to some other DPW emergency certs.
I'm not that like bottom picture is like I don't even know how you could get riprap in there. It's just like a vertical slope.
It kind of seems like the stream is super incised and it can't find its equilibrium because it can't connect to, I'm assuming the road is the left descending stream bank. And then it looks like the right descending stream bank, if I'm not mixed up. I don't know. It's hard to see. But the forested side, not the roadside, is super steep. So like this stream has no connection to the floodplain. So I can like, I mean, they don't really have much choice other than hard armor on the road, but can they like soften up the other side so the stream has more meander width? You know what I mean? Did they give us any plan or is it just we want to rip wrap it?
They got some of the measurements. 235 cubic yards.
God, I hate rip wrap. I'm so sick of rip wrap.
Down from the top of the slope with an excavator.
Gabion walls, please. Ugh.
9-inch to 12-inch stone on stream bank as necessary. Seed with a conservation seed mix. And mulch.
Well, after you put a Gabion wall in, I don't know. It's
So with
I don't know.
emergency certifications,
They have 30 days, right?
yeah, they have to do the work within 30 days and we have to respond within like 24 hours, I think, right?
Yeah.
And I think that there has to be some justification for like you know, jeopardy to public safety,
Yeah.
infrastructure,
I think it's health and
utilities.
safety.
Yeah, kind of thing, which it looks like it is.
Yeah. So I think we can like if we approve this, we could approve it with certain conditions.
It's just some of my photos.
Looks like some of those have already fallen in the stream.
Yeah. Why do humans have to build roads on floodplains?
That's our lovely history.
Mm-hmm. I guess since the Native Americans, it's the easiest way to A to B.
What's the river system like? What's upstream? Like, because you know, this area, there's not much you can do except try and stabilize the road. But you know,
Yeah, there's
my
look at
questions
that.
would
That's
be
like
like, what's the system that it's like connected to? You know?
it's like bedrock on the other side. There's no way they can get more floodplain on the other side.
No,
That's
not right
so
here.
sad. This is
It's
so
like
sad.
a
The stream is
sluice
so pinched. It
completely.
wants to meander into the road, but
Yeah.
stupid humans.
Shelburne Road, is this near that culvert replacement or
Yeah,
what?
it is.
Because
Ooh.
I remember being up there and I mean, some of that stream that the culvert replacement was on is just like it's like a waterfall,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one we just talked about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
actually, look at where those cones are. It looks like the stream is jumping the bank.
It does, yeah. There were a bunch of places along that road that looked terrible. It was a sketchy road.
I wonder if maybe we should be looking at like a more pulled back perspective of this stream reach.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a North Atlantic NAACC. What is it? North Atlantic North Atlantic Stream Crossing Collaborative
Hmm.
assessment in this reach. And if maybe it's qualified for grant funding. North Atlantic Aquatic Connectivity Collaborative, if anybody wants to know.
Nice.
I'm gonna look right now because this is a hot mess.
Yeah. And another thing with the emergency certifications is it's only supposed to be like just enough work to fix the emergency situation. And then if there's more work that needs to be done, then they should be like filing an NOI or whatever they would need to do. So if we thought there was part of what they could do to, you know, part of what they're proposing to prevent, the road from washing away, but then also say any work beyond that, would require an NOI. That's something we could say as well. And I will say these are emergency certifications are hard because usually they come in not on the day when we have our meeting. And then
Yeah.
like Mitch and I talk
Sure.
about it and decide whether to approve it or not. And then it has to be ratified at the next meeting. So this is a rare one where we actually get to talk about it before it's approved. Or not.
Personally, to me, it looks like that erosion is mostly fill associated with the construction of the road. I really feel like this is an actual qualification for an emergency cert, but I just hate that they're not looking at the holistic picture. But not a question for today.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I think just so we aren't talking about this for another hour, I guess, if we do think it meets the qualifications for an emergency certification, then really the decision is, do we accept as is, or do we set any conditions that they would need to follow? And then vote to approve.
I think the only concern I would have is if the plans that they have, in our view, are going to make things worse in the long term. If not, they're just gonna do what they have to do.
Mhm.
And obviously it's an emergency. So if any of us feel like there's something that's gonna worsen the situation, then we might attach some conditions or to it. But I feel like, Kristen said it, it's just this narrow alleyway. It's the only way the water can go.
And I will
Right now,
also
they're
say
just,
that under existing conditions, there is active bank slumping and bank loss. All that soil is just getting washed downstream, creating sedimentation, sediment loading, no bueno. So it's an active measure to correct bank failure. It's just
And we really thought they could do anything better, you know how the town, it takes them forever. So, and they got so many other projects lined up first that
yeah.
I don't think they would get to making this a lot better anytime soon. So,
what's the name of the brook again? Just curious.
is that Miller or is that?
Okay. Wheeler Brook?
Is it
Wheeler
is it
Brook?
Wheeler?
It's
It's
Wheeler
Wheeler. Oh,
Brook
it's
and
Wheeler.
it's Shelburne Road.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one, two, there are several NAACC reports on the database. I don't know which one we're talking about here, but I'm just curious if this is in the queue for the municipal grant culvert upgrade. Again, a question for another day, but
Yeah.
maybe, we can mention that to Alan. Because if it is in the queue for the municipal grant program and the DPW expresses the urgency and there is an emergency cert, maybe that bumps them up in the queue. I'm not sure how it works, but
Mm.
something
Could
to
be.
basically, if there's a report on NAACC website, they're in the queue for the municipal grant program. But I don't know how they get shuffled.
Mm.
Well, either way, something needs to be done. So, I mean, I
Mhm.
guess we need to approve it so that cars aren't falling into the street.
Yeah, I have no issue with it. It looks like it has to be done.
Yeah. Okay.
One want a motion?
I will motion to approve the emergency cert for Shelburne Road.
Second.
I'm giving that one to Elizabeth. I think she beat you by a half a
Okay.
second.
Wait.
Erica has seconded everything else this meeting. Okay, so we have a motion that was seconded. Any other discussion? Any conditions? Anything feels like it needs to be added, or I don't really see what they could do differently other than what they've proposed. So I don't have anything in mind, but no. Okay, hearing none, we will vote on issuing that emergency certification. Kristen,
Hi.
Erica,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Elizabeth.
Aye.
All right, and I'm an aye, so that will be issued. Thanks, Mitch. Mitch, did you have something else? I think you said you had a couple things.
Yeah, so it's just a
Oh
like
boy.
herbicide notification
Oh,
and
okay.
just telling us
Oh, yeah, I
they're
saw it.
exempt. Um,
You just show
I
that
don't know that we need to
briefly.
do anything, but I just wanted to mention it. I can take a closer look at it tomorrow.
Okay. That, can you just mention who it is and what they're
Yeah, it's
doing briefly?
Eversource. I'll share this.
Yeah, so Eversource, they are exempt from certain when they're doing herbicides on the right of ways. But they
Yeah,
notify.
so they're just letting us know.
Yeah. These come in from time to time.
Yeah, in compliance with 333 CMR 11.00. As long as they have like an annual OMP, VMP approved.
Hmm. Could you scroll down? Are there maps in this document? Oh, it said
There's some
see the
links.
it said see the attached map, so I thought maybe there were maps
It
at the
looks like
bottom.
maybe there are links to click on there. Maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Which
Oh,
is
that's their plan.
Oh, it's just that one.
Okay. Well, we saw it. And that should be in the Google Drive if anyone else wants to review that more. Anything else, Mitch?
no, that is it.
Any enforcement updates or active order of condition updates?
Nope.
All right, so then our next meeting date is Tuesday, March 26, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. via Zoom. Anyone want a motion to
Kristen, you're
adjourn?
up.
I will love to motion to adjourn. I fell asleep like 20 minutes ago. I'm sorry. I'm
That's
pumpkin
okay.
at 9:30.
I know. This one went long. So we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Elizabeth seconded that one. So all those in favor of adjourning? Aye. All right, that is unanimous. So we are adjourned at 9:59 p.m. We didn't go to 10 p.m.